Hi y'all, good morning from the Emory River. It is a chilly start to here in East Tennessee, but by gosh, we're gonna try to warm up with some fish today, and hopefully a lot of them, because we're going ultralight fishing for whatever bites. Bluegill, bass, crappie, anything that wants to play, I'm willing to catch them. And we're gonna do it today in my new kayak. Well, at least new to me anyway. Bought this thing secondhand, bought it used. It's a Hobie Lynx. I'm gonna tell you about it, why I've wanted it. My regular viewers, you've heard me talk about this kayak and wanting one for quite some time. So we'll cover all that today. Louisiana stuff, I got some stories to tell you, but we're gonna try to catch some fish. I'm gonna get y'all in the chest here, and we're gonna get started, man. If you're new to my channel, new to my ultralight videos, whatever, I'll go over my rig here very briefly before we get started. This here's the bait we're gonna be throwing today. That is a 1-inch Gulp minnow. It's called a smelt color, which looks just like our threadfin shad. It's like a gray and white color. Just really mimics the forage species that these fish are gonna be feeding on here. It's a 1/64 ounce jig head with a number 8 size hook. I've got this on 2-pound test trout magnet line. St. Croix Panfish Series rod. It's 6 foot long, ultralight action, down to a Daiwa 1000 size Regal reel. And while I'm talking to you, I'm blowing up on the bank here, so let's back us up and we're gonna start making some casts. And we're gonna work our way from right here. We're at the bottom of the Emory River, right here where it dumps into the clinch. We're gonna throw at these rocks and just make our way on up the shoreline here, just casting at everything we see. We'll be casting at stuff we don't see. There'll be logs and trees broke off and things like, oh boy, we had a hit right then. Cast number 1 right there, had a little bump. Some people say it's bad luck to catch a fish on the first cast. I don't guess we have to worry about it since we didn't get him, but that's encouraging nonetheless. But we're gonna throw this Gulp today. We're gonna just hopefully get us a bunch of fish and have a good time. But if we catch something that is suitable, right there, second cast we'll get her. Is it bad luck to catch a fish on the second cast? If it is, we in trouble, I reckon. We got us one though. Bluegill, second cast, first fish. This bluegill don't care that it's frigid cold out here this morning. I do. I had a big decision to make when I got out here. I wore my hoodie from the house here. I actually waited a while too. I ain't out here at sunrise, folks. Normally I like a sunrise trip. Not today, because it's frigid. At least it feels like. It's like 42, 43 degrees, something like that. Oh, here's another one. This bird's cheered me on over here. We got another one right here. Let's see what this is. That's another bluegill right there. Another one, not too bad a size either. You can tell the water's getting a little cooler. Look how pale he is. Well, get your pliers out. He ate it a little deep there. It's not so deep that it's gonna hurt him, but we need some pliers to get that thing out. Are you cold, fish, being up here in the cold temperature? I had a big decision to make whether or not I should wear my hoodie out here. Now, before I leave the water today, it's gonna warm up to 60 something. There he is. We're gonna let him go for now. So I knew at some point I would get hot if I had a hoodie on. But right now, I could sure use that hoodie. That's what I could. Oh boy, that's a leaf right there. Y'all set the hook on a leaf. You look ridiculous doing that. Can't believe y'all don't know the difference between a fish and a leaf. But anyway, y'all, if we get some other species today, let's say we get crappie. Let's say we get some yellow bass. We got something right here. A little bluegill. Small bluegill right there. If we get some other species of fish, the bluegill or crappie, yellow bass, white bass, definitely skipjack for sure, we're going to keep those for catfish bait. And I do have my bait bucket here. There's another fish was hitting me right there. I'm gonna back us up just a little bit. I want to get some live baits today. Now, I'm throwing back the bluegill right now. If we get any larger size bluegill, let's say 6-7 inch range, up to 8 inches, we'll keep a few of those too. But right now, I want to we can get the bluegill probably later in the morning. So I kind of want to just leave things be for now in case we luck into some crappie. If we get crappie or yellow bass, I don't want to overcrowd that bucket. So if we start throwing all these bluegill in now, and we get 6 or 8 of them in there, and then we get on some crappie or something, well, then we're going to have to take some of the bluegill out because they're not going to survive in that 5-gallon bucket until we go catfishing again. So I do want to get us some bait today, hopefully. I don't know if we'll see any skipjack or something else is tapping me. I don't know if we'll see any skipjack or white bass out here. But if we do, I've got another rod rigged up, my normal skipjack bait rod. We will certainly throw at them. If we get any here on the Ultralight, we will certainly try to wrangle them in. I've brought a net here. We're prepared, folks. I got a net, I got my measuring board, I got everything we need. Except you catching fish. We definitely need that. So anyway, I'm in a new, at least new to me kayak. Man, we're getting eat up right here. There must be a bunch of bluegill right here on these rocks. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something else in there with them too, bass or something. New to me, Hobie Lynx kayak. I bought this kayak. It's mainly going to be used for it's going to be used to catch a fish right here is what it's going to be used for. Come up here, fish. We're getting the Judy off this kayak right now, buddy. I mean, we're sitting here just wearing these things out. Quality's not very good, but there's a million of them over there. Man, when I go ultralight fishing, I want to catch fish, folks. I want to catch bukus. I don't even know if buku is a real word, but that's what I want to catch, a fish. Bukus. And I mean, we're on some bluegill right here. These things are stacked up right here on these rocks. This one's just a hitting it to get it. And he's still got some color to him. He's still got some orange. Oh, well, get on out of here then. You wanted to unhook yourself, go ahead and flop yourself. Oh, see, now you done gone and done it. That's why you should have waited to get some assistance here, bluegill. You done flopped down in the pedal drive. Y'all get hold of your fish. Get your fish out the dang pedals. There he goes. I can't take y'all anywhere. Hell, you can't even unhook a fish, and we about lost the camera bending over like that. I want to catch a bunch of fish today, and they're all, even the smaller bluegill like that on this ultralight setup, they're fun. They're going to put a bend in the rod. Now we're going to stumble into something bigger down through here today. I can feel it down in my loins. Right here might be a little bigger one right now. Slightly bigger anyway. A little slight upgrade over the last one maybe by an inch. It's a hide and buy bluegill. I got more avians to catch. But I'm in the mood to catch fish today. We need to get some catfish bait in a bad way. And we're going to try out this kayak, kind of familiarize ourselves with it a little more. This is my third trip in the kayak, first on video. My first session in this kayak, it went well as far as being in it. I tried to film and didn't do worth a diddly doo-doo. So that didn't work out. And my second trip in it, I was netting shad. I was throwing the cast net from it. I wanted to see if I could do that from this. And it's actually a pretty good platform for netting shad because you can run so shallow in this, because it's basically a paddle board. It's a paddle board with a seat, essentially. So it sits on top of the water. It's not down in the water like a kayak, as we got another fish. So it really worked out well for throwing a net. And so we out here today doing at least a normal fishing trip, and so I'm gonna try to film this today, and we'll talk about life. We'll talk about this kayak, why I got it, the deal I got on it. I saved $1,400 by buying it used, and it was practically new. The bottom of it looks, I've probably done more damage to the bottom of this thing in my previous 2 trips than what the previous owner done the whole time they had it. But the only noticeable cosmetic damage on this thing, there was no scratches on the bottom at all, which is a concern for this kayak because it's so fragile. It's super lightweight, and because of that, the plastic's very thin. But the only real cosmetic damage is right there. See the Hobie logo, part of it's missing? That's a problem on these kayaks. It's not just this one, it's all of them. If you got this thing strapped down on your vehicle or a trailer, whatever, the straps rub those stickers, which don't stick good to this plastic anyway, and tears up the logo, which I don't care. I ain't out here to advertise for Hobie anyway. What do I care if I got their logo on the side or not? I need this thing to function and keep me upright and provide me a platform to catch fish on and basically solve some problems for me. That's what I wanted this kayak for. This was a problem solver kayak, at least I hope. And so I'll just get right into it. Hell, we're out here fishing together. Some of you may care about this, some of you may not, but by gosh, you coming along with me. This is a unedited, raw and uncut video, so you and I was out here, if we was in a boat or something fishing together, you'd be hearing me flap my gums about this. So we'll just get right into it. But first off though, before I go into that, I want to shout out Chris Scoggins. He is a channel member. I met him over here as I was putting in. Super nice guy, supports my channel through the channel memberships. And he was like, what's your plan out here today? Where are you going? I was planning on coming up here, but I said, you know, if you're planning on going up here, I'll just go up the clinch, because this is right here where the clinch and the Emory come together. I fish down here about once a year, usually. And he's like, man, if you were planning on going up the Emory, I'll go up the clinch. And I'm like, man, I don't want to put you out or nothing. I mean, I can do this anytime, anywhere, you know, but no, that fish hit it 3 or 4 times and finally snatched it as I was about to bring it in. The quality here of these bluegill hasn't been spectacular, but there's enough of them that I thought I'd spend a few more minutes on it here before we move along. But anyway, super nice guy, Chris Scoggins. And so he's in his kayak and he's headed up the clinch right now. And so me and you, we're gonna head up the Emory. We're gonna talk about this kayak. We're gonna talk about Louisiana. We're gonna talk about life. We got a lot to cover today. This was my first video that I'm filming since I got back from Louisiana. And I got back a week ago today, actually. Or a week ago last night. So thankfully I was ahead on videos, had a little bit of a cushion because I have, between just life stuff going on and the fact that I've struggled to get bait since I've been home. And I had a battery issue with my other kayak that kind of put a damper on things for a day. A little behind here, but we're getting back after it today. And we're going to try to film out here, and we're off to a dang good start catching, I don't know how many fish already, but I'm ready to catch it right here. Well, let's catch another one. I was about to say I'm ready to catch another one, and this fish said, Justin, I read your mind. This fish here, buddy, he's a daggone tarot card reader or something. He knows exactly what you're thinking and before you think it even. How about that? This thing, I mean, there are just a million bluegill right here on these rocks. This is real. I don't have a graph on this kayak. This is going to be a very minimalist setup here. But I don't know, the water temperature certainly has to be cooling off significantly with these cooler nighttime temperatures. We've had some, since I've been home, we've had some days in the 30s, or nights times in the 30s. It's been warm in the afternoon every day. but the nighttime temperatures have been high 30s, low 40s. And so it's going to cool the water temperatures off really quickly. And so maybe these bluegill are kind of up on these rocks, because those rocks throughout the day, the sun, if it's coming up over here, it's going to be setting over here behind us. So it's going to heat them rocks up all afternoon during the warm part of the day and absorb that heat and energy. And so maybe them bluegill, maybe it's slightly warmer over there potentially is what I'm trying to say. And it's got them all stacked up here or something. Let's back up a smidge, and then we're gonna turn. We'll make a few more casts right here, and then we're gonna start our venture today, adventure up the Emory. This Hobie pedal drive, I'm used to the Old Town pedal drive at this point, bicycle motion. So you've always got reverse whenever you need it, instant reverse. You just pedal backwards, pedal forwards, whatever you need to do, minor adjustment. Easily done with the bicycle style. This Hobie, you've got to pull these cords here. If you want to go forward, you pull a cord. If you need to go backward, you got to pull a cord. So it's taken me a little while to get used to the stepping motion of the Hobie pedal drive. I'm not a fan of it. I've talked about this ad nauseum for regular viewers, but this Hobie pedaling motion, if I do it too much, I get sciatica. My body just rejects this pedaling motion. It don't matter. I've tried the Hobie Pro Angler, the Hobie Outback kayaks, different seat heights, I've done different levels on the pedals. I mean, I've tried it all. My body just rejects the motion. So that's my biggest hesitation with getting one of these kayaks is the Hobie pedal drive. Now it's a great drive. At least this drive anyway, the 360 drive, they've had a lot of issues out of. But this 180 drive here, they call it, it's kind of tried and true. I mean, it's simple to work on if you have problems. Nobody really has problems with them. It stores compactly, it's lightweight, it's very efficient, at least as far as your energy level that it takes to propel yourself. So there's a lot of positives about this pedal drive system. And all my friends, my bass fishing friends that have Hobies, they love this drive way more than the pedal or the bicycle pedal motion of the Old Town. But for some reason, my body just doesn't like the stepping motion. I end up with sciatica. And so, but in this kayak, I'm not going to be doing long trips in it. Here's another one. This might be a little better one right here. Nope, just fought above, well, it's slightly better than what we've been getting. Fought above his weight class there a little bit. He was so excited to get on this video, he couldn't contain his energy. But I'm not going to be doing long journeys on this kayak. This is going to be a few things with this kayak. Saltwater trips, certainly. I've got a trip coming up here very soon to the Florida Keys. Me and the girlfriend going down there for Thanksgiving. And when you're pulling a kayak through the sand, any of y'all that have ever tried it, you know the sand makes everything feel heavier. And so my other pedal kayak, the Old Town, it weighs, I think it's 98, 99 pounds without the pedal drive. The pedal drive's another 20-something pounds. Throw in your gear and all that, and throw in another fish right here. Oh, and that's a little better one. This is the biggest bluegill that we've got this morning. And he didn't fight nearly as hard as, oh, this ain't a bluegill either. Or is this a shell cracker? No. He's a different coloration, but he don't have the red. That's a good size. That's a good size right there. I'll tell you what we're gonna do with this one. This one is gonna go in the bucket here, folks. That's a good size bluegill right there. Let me back us up as boat wake's gonna knock us up here. This will be a good test for this kayak here. We're going to fill that bucket up on the water. We'll see how the balance does with this kayak when you're trying to lift something heavy in here. This will be a good test right here off the bat. Let's get our aerator and we'll throw it overboard. I'm gonna go ahead and put the bluegill down in the bucket and hopefully he don't swim out while we filling it up. Y'all don't let him get out of that bucket now. I mean it. Don't let him get out. Okay. All right, let's see what we can do here. Well, actually, that went pretty well, all things considered. Okay, let's set it back up there. All right. That went pretty well. With this kayak setting so low to the water, again, it's essentially a paddle board with a seat. When you're lifting something up, whether it's going to be hopefully a big fish at some point, or in this case, a bait bucket that's, if you figure water's 8 pounds a gallon, it's 5 gallons, so that's 40 pounds. You're basically just lifting it out of the water and kind of sliding it up. You don't have to lift it up and over the sidewall of the kayak, so it went pretty well. But anyway, back to the topic. You go to the beach, you're pulling through the sand, sometimes long distances depending on where you're putting in. And man, I'm telling you, here's another fish. Man, these fish are stacked right here, folks. They are absolutely stacked. I feel bad. I hope Chris is on them up there going up the clinch, because I hate that we've knocked him out of all this action in the event that he was really wanting to fish here. Back us up again. But you go through the sand, I mean, it'll make you question your life's decisions. If you're trying to pull a heavy kayak through that sand, up a hill, yada, yada, yada. Well, this kayak here weighs 47 pounds. And I'm gonna tell you, it feels lighter than that. I guess because I'm used to dealing with heavier, much heavier kayaks, 47 pounds feels like nothing. This bluegill right here, he says this hook don't feel like nothing. Come here. Oh, you ate that a little bit too deep, didn't you? Let's get this hook out of him. He ate it just deep enough. We gotta use pliers on him. Boy, how many fish have we caught now? Boy, we've really been tearing them up right here, man. Y'all have brought you good luck charm out here today. Y'all must have kissed a leprechaun last night or something. We're on them, man. But 47 pounds feels like nothing. So you take this kayak down to the beach, and I lost that one. And man, it's gonna make it so much easier getting in and out of the water. The other thing, because this kayak, it's only 11 feet long, so I can take this thing in the back of my truck without the need of a bed extender. And if any of y'all, you've ever been down to the beach, along the coast, I don't care what beach you go to, parking is at a premium everywhere. Were we fighting that leaf the whole time just then? Surely we had a fish on and then hooked the leaf. Surely you all didn't fight that leaf like a fish. That would be embarrassing. Y'all wouldn't want to embarrass yourself on this video. I know yous wouldn't. But that leaf broke my train of thought now. Dadgummit. Oh, I was talking about parking. You go to the beach, man, you can't park anywhere. There's nowhere to park a trailer at all. And even if you got a bed extender a lot of the parking spaces, I mean, they're barely big enough for a vehicle as it is. And now you got a few feet hanging off the back with the bed extender. So with taking this kayak, I can go down there, put in wherever I want to without breaking my back and, having to do a damn hernia causing workout to get to and from the water. And then on the times when we're not fishing, me and the girlfriend just want to go out and do other stuff, I can take the kayak out of the truck there and leave it at the place we're going to be staying. And then we can park in normal parking spots without the hassle of a bed extender or a trailer especially. So a lot of perks to it from that aspect. And so I've really been wanting one. And here's the other big thing with this. The other big selling point for me and what I want it for. It's unsinkable. This kayak, if you call it that, it's foam wrapped in, I believe, fiberglass, and then this thin plastic outer layer, right? There's no internal compartments. There's nowhere for water to get in. Like, it's unsinkable. There's no fear of it. You take it out in the ocean, you take any of my other kayaks out, or any other kayak that's got a hatch, internal space there, if you will. Like if you get a leak, maybe you get a crack in your scupper, which that's a common place for any kayak to crack, is the scupper holes. I got to fix this gulp on here again. We've caught so many fish, it's about ripped it off. But you get a leak while you're out there in the ocean, and buddy, you're in trouble quick. Because, I mean, if you're out there in open water, maybe a mile offshore or something, what are you going to do? You can't just go pull up on the shore real quick. And God forbid you get water sloshing around inside your hull and you gotta land in a little bit of surf or something. But you can get in trouble real quick. This kayak, I'm not gonna have to worry about that. So from a safety aspect, and me being just so inexperienced in the ocean, I feel better about it. So that was kind of the selling points of why I've been wanting one for a while now. My concerns, what we got on our thumb here? Is that a fish turd we had on our thumb? Lord almighty, y'all nasty. This kayak, though, it has concerns, and I had my concerns with it. First off, durability. Because it's so thin as far as the plastic layer, I mean, that's great in that it keeps the weight down, right? That's the biggest selling point of the kayak, is the weight. But to keep the weight down, you got to go super thin on the plastic. So durability is a big issue. Now, at the beach, you're pulling through sand, not a huge deal, right? It's soft, you can pull it along the sand, you're not going to have any problems. But when I'm using it like today here, I'm using a concrete boat ramp. Just the running it up on the shore, rolling it over to put the wheels in, to be able to roll it back to the truck, like that over the course of time can damage this plastic that's super thin, and you get a gouge in it, and you got to repair. Whereas a normal roto-molded kayak, roto-molded, if I get my words out, the plastic's so much thicker, it's more abrasion resistant. Like you're just a good quality roto-molded kayak, you're not going to have problems. You might get a crack somewhere like in a scupper hole or something like that, that's kind of a weak point in the kayak. But as far as the keel, the bow and the stern, those places are built up. So when you're running up on rocky banks, concrete boat ramps and stuff like that, it takes a long time. It's going to take a long time to wear that plastic down. So I have put a keel guard on this. There's a company called Burley Pro that makes a keel guard. It's a piece of Kydex plastic, basically, and it's already formed. You just pretty much glue it on there with some marine goop, like a adhesive and sealant. Fish. Listen, it feels pretty good. Pretty sure it's a whoppy doggone he ain't. Ain't it funny? The biggest bluegill we've caught was one of the weakest fighting ones. I catch one like this that's just pulling like the dickens, and he ain't very big. Go on in, bluegill. Daggone it. Let's back us up a little bit again. We've pulled up here on the bank. Now I done broke my train of thought again, y'all. I was on a roll. Was we talking about durability? Oh, we was talking about that keel guard. So anyway, I mounted that on there. That's going to help a little bit. That's what the front of the kayak's what's going to take the beating. It's going to take the brunt of it when you're going up on the shore. Maybe you see or you come up on a rock that you don't see, something like that. But either way, the kayak's fragile. You're going to have to baby this thing, and I'm not good with babying equipment, so I got to be careful. I really got to be careful. So that the fragility. I think fragility is the word. You internet encyclopedias out there, spell checkers, you all can bust me on that. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, fragility or fragileness, but you know what I'm trying to say. That's my biggest concern. The other concerns, the pedal drive motion, obviously, I talked about. My body hates it, so got to be careful with that so that I don't injure myself. Sciatica is terrible, man. If any of y'all ever had sciatica, it's awful. I'd actually give myself piriformis syndrome pedaling my Hobie Outback years ago. Overusing the piriformis muscle, it causes the muscle to become inflamed. That muscle goes right over the top of the sciatic nerve, so the inflamed muscle puts pressure on that nerve, which causes the sciatic pain. The sciatic nerve becoming inflamed keeps the muscle irritated, and so it takes forever. You get piriformis syndrome, it's 6 to 12 months to heal, just because you can't, the muscle keeps irritating the nerve, which then irritates the muscle, and it's just, you just can't heal from it. It took forever. It took me 6 or 7 months, I guess, to kind of get back to normal. And it was awful, because that piriformis muscle would get so tight, and like it would cramp, and it would just send that sciatic pain all the way down to my calf. I mean, it was awful. And so I got to be real careful with this Hobie pedal motion. The Old Town kayak I have, the Old Town pedal kayak, the bicycle motion, man, I can go long distances with that. I can go hours pedaling. I can do multiple days in a row pedaling long distances. And I have no issues with it. Now, I'm going to be tired. My legs might be tired. My back might be tired. Just muscular-wise, tired. But I don't have it doesn't cause me any pain. When I get out of the kayak, whenever I'm done fishing, like, I'm not having any kind of problems. So I don't know. It's just something with my body in this motion. It's just a problem. I'm an anomaly. Don't let my problems deter you from potentially trying this or another Hobie kayak, one of the other models. Because of me, none of my friends have any issues with this. It's just me. I don't know why I'm so lucky in that. So we're going to move on from these rocks here. The bite's kind of slowed down. I guess we've caught every damn fish there. We'll move along here and see what else we can get. But anyway, that was a concern. Well, we had a thump right then. A small bluegill, a big thump, small fish. Another thing, and it's not really a flaw of the kayak, it's just my own personal pet peeve. This plastic, there's something about it that just makes the hull slap, like if you're in choppy water, it makes the water splashing against the hull very loud, like a loud sound. That will drive me nuts if it's truly as loud as what I've heard on video. So since I've had this thing, this is my third trip in it here, I've not been in any choppy water yet. So I can't speak from firsthand experience. But when you watch videos of people in this kayak, it's incredibly loud in choppy water. But here's the thing. These people, when they're filming these videos, I've yet to watch a video on this kayak where a person's using a fancy pants microphone like I'm wearing here today. Oh, he hit it a few times and he finally got it here. Another small one. We may catch a million bluegill down through here today, but you know what? I'm perfectly okay with that, because I like catching me some bluegill, but I do hope we get on some yellow bass or some crappie or something down through here at some point. But these people that are filming the videos in this Hobie Links kayak, there's another fish just like that. I went to pick up on it, and there he is. Boy, there's a bunch of fish right here. Bunch of fish. I hope Chris is wearing them out going up the clinch, because I'm going to feel bad if I see him when I'm loading up today and he said he didn't do any good up through there. But anyhow, people filming this kayak, they're not using a external microphone. They're just using the regular microphone in the camera, and they'll have their cameras mounted on a camera mount on the front of the hull. So that water splashing there on the front, going right into the camera mount and into the microphone. So it's going to sound louder in that situation than what it really is. So it's tough to gauge until you're actually out there reeling in this fish right now. What is that, like 3 in a row? I think we might have a streak going here. Until you're actually in the choppy conditions yourself in this kayak, it's going to be tough to tell how loud is it truly. But I'm going to tell you, if it is loud, it's going to drive me nuts. So we'll see. We'll see. The good thing is, I have gotten this kayak. I had to drive to Georgia to get it. I found it on Marketplace. But I saved $1,400. I had to drive 2.5 hours down there, and it took me about 3 hours getting home because of traffic, because we got another fish right here. It was a good haul to get down there, but to save $1,400 off buying a new one, I'm like, well, how do I turn down that deal? Especially when it had barely been used. That fella said that he had got it for his kid, and his kid ain't never going, so just taking up space there. He actually had 2 of them. He was keeping the one that he was using, but getting rid of this one there for the kid. Another fish. We got a streak going right here, man. There's a tree. If you can see that right there coming into the water. I guess they're hanging out there on the branches. But, you know, save $1,400. I had to give up a few hours of my time and drive a little bit, but worth it. I was considering buying a new one, but I wanted to try it out before I bought it. And I don't think that's asking a lot. When you're making a big part, these things ain't cheap. And like I said, I do have a lot of concerns with this kayak. As we got another fish here, man, the streak is alive. I've lost count of how many fish we've got, but we've got a streak going. Here's another one you're gonna have to bust out the pliers on though. He's ate it a little deep. Get your pliers out. Let me have it, fish. I want that jig back. If you want something you can keep down there, fish, you better find you a live shad, a real one, not one of these with hooks in it. I need to, here, let's spin back around here. We're kind of blowing off this tree. But I wanted to try this kayak out before I commit to the amount of money this thing costs. I mean, these things are expensive. And none of my dealers, we've got 2 Hobie dealers that are fairly close proximity to me. Neither of them offer demo days anymore. Demo days, I was telling my channel members about this. I'd done a channel members video to show them this kayak right after I got it. And demo days used to be just commonplace. They'd do a few of them a year. These local dealers, they would post an event there on Facebook or social media, wherever, and they'd pick a day, a boat ramp, a public park, whatever. They would take pretty much every kayak brand and model they had in their store. We've got another fish. Oh, that's a bass. That's a bass. Let's see if we can get him to jump for you again here. See if this fish will put on a show. There we go, buddy. Come here, you old bass. Get up in here. What'd you just spit out? Did you just spit out my gulp, or did you spit out another shad of some kind? I saw something go flying out your mouth. Oh, it's a shad. You see that right there? This will be good. I'm going to show you this here in a second. Let's show you the bass first off, just a little fella. So, look at this, folks. Here is our gulp, right? Gulp and a 1/64 ounce jig head. Here is a shad that fish just spit up. You see the similarities in the color, the similarities in the size. The shad's obviously a little taller right now, just where they're at in their growth cycle. But lengthwise, it's almost identical. Color-wise, almost identical. That's matching the hatch, folks. That's what these fish are feeding on over here right now. And so we're throwing this gulp down there, right there in their face, and it looks just like what they're already eating. And we're basically presenting a dying shad as this thing falls down through the water. They just can't resist it. That bass couldn't. He said he'll take another if we throw back over there, maybe. I wish I'd been keeping track of the streak, because we got several fish streak happening here off this tree. This will be interesting. Sometimes you throw this ultralight in the Gulp, sometimes you'll go on a 20 fish streak. We got another one. Get up here, you old fish. You're keeping the streak alive. You keep the streak alive, you're okay with me, fish. Oh, you've ate that thing. Now, you've ate that thing a little deeper. Y'all bear with me. We're getting this jig back on this fish. Maybe. Bear with me a second here, folks. I gotta do some surgery. I ain't getting it back. It's too deep. He's already bleeding a little bit too. That fish got double whammy, man. That happens sometimes, folks, unfortunately. Well, let's retie a second here. First lost jig of the day. Wasn't to a snag, but either way, it's gone. So let's find us another jig. I got a pack of them here. If you're new to my channel, you haven't seen my ultralight videos, whatever, before, I'll show you what I carry here. This is just a little plastic box, and I keep me some jig heads in this box. They're right here in my life jacket all times. That way I'm always got them handy. My other kayak, I have a magnet, and what that allows me to do is keep a few jig heads handy, just on the magnet I've got it mounted to the gear track of my other kayak there. This kayak, I've not really mounted anything on it yet. I want to get some trips in it and figure out where I want to put stuff. I've put these rod holders on kind of temporarily just to get out here and fish with them in place to see, is this a good location for them? Is this where I want to put them? Too many people make the mistake of buying a kayak, going home, immediately putting all the accessories on it, and then they get on the water and they realize, well, this don't fit here, or this is in my way, or I wish I hadn't done this. I think you got to get some seat time in a kayak, man. You got to get on the water in it, figure out where you want to put stuff, and then mount your accessories. Don't do it first before you ever get on the water, because then you're just gonna have to redo stuff. And that's not always a big deal depending on how you've got it mounted, but if you've drilled through the hole and permanently mounted something and then you realize, well, crap, I've made a mistake, well, then you're in trouble, you know? Which, going back to the point, demo days. If you can get on a kayak on the water before you buy it, get some seat time in it, then while you're out there demoing it, figuring out if you like it or not, well, then you can also be figuring out, where do I want to put accessories? Where do I want to put a graph, rod holders, camera mounts, cup holders, stuff like that. You can be figuring that stuff out while you're trying it out. But the dealers have quit. They have quit doing demo days. They used to do them all the time, a few times a year. You'd meet up at a park, a boat ramp, you go out there, they'd have you sign a waiver. I mean, you know, legal liability stuff. You sign a waiver, and then you hop in any kayak you want. You could try them all out. It was great. It allowed you to make the correct decision before purchasing. And COVID happens, the world shuts down for a while. Along with that, demo days stop happening. And guess what? Now that society's back to normal, we don't have demo days anymore. They died with COVID. Demo days and Amazon's one-day shipping, when COVID hit, they all stopped and they've never come back. We still pay for a Prime membership. We don't get one-day shipping anymore. Now I wait a week if I order something. It's ridiculous. And I can't get a demo day. So anyway, I've wanted to try this kayak out, but there's been nowhere locally to try one. And I don't know anybody that has one locally. The only person I know that has one is Steve Sharon at Venture Outdoors YouTube channel. And he's like, I don't know, 8 hours away from me. So, I mean, it's not like it's a situation where I can call him up and be like, hey man, can I hop on your kayak for 10, 15 minutes? You know, because it's so far away. So I was very hesitant to pull the trigger on a brand new one, because if I buy a new one and I don't like it for whatever reason, well, then I'm gonna take a big loss if I go to sell it. So I thought, well, this situation, I found such a good deal on this one, buying it used. If I try it out and for some reason I don't like it, I don't want it, whatever, well, I can turn around and sell it, and I should be able to recoup all of my money. I might even turn a small profit on it. At the very worst case scenario, I might lose $100, $200 on the sale, because we got another fish. But I mean, I'm okay with losing, say, $100, $200 on it, because then I look at that basically as just, you're paying to rent it and try it out, right? That's a little better one right there. Maybe I'll throw that one in the bucket too. You want to come with me, Bluegill? He says, nope, but you're going to. You might be a live bait on our upcoming catfish trip. He's not a fan of that idea. But yeah, I mean, if I lose, let's say I didn't like this kayak for whatever reason. I sell it, I take a $100 loss. Well, then I've basically paid $100 to rent it for a little while, try it out, and learn that I didn't like it. And that's money well spent, in my opinion. But I mean, if I go buy a new one, I mean, as soon as you walk out the store and it's considered used, it's like a car, a boat, anything else. I mean, you lose a big percentage of the value on it. So you're taking a big hit. And I wasn't real comfortable doing that because I had all these questions and concerns about it. So ultimately, my local dealers, because they don't do demo days, they cost themselves a sale. Because I've had a good enough experience in this now that if I'd been able to try it out, I would have bought it new from a local dealer at this point. I've had enough experience in it. I like it well enough. We still don't know about the hull slap situation, but the lightweight, man, I love the weight of this thing. It is nice, man. So the positives right now would have sold me a new kayak, but these local dealers, man, they quit. And so I just drive my hind end down to Georgia and bought this thing used. Looks practically new, other than the logo being messed up. Couldn't get. I wouldn't have chosen this color had I bought it new. But that's not the end of the world. I mean, a kayak color, it's not a big deal to me, really. I'll tell you what is a big deal. This fish right here. He says that hook got him right there to the point where we got to use pliers, and he didn't want the pliers used on him. There we go. Finally got that thing out there. Boy, and this whole shebang here is just loaded with bluegill. Loaded, man. We're catching so many fish, I'm barely thinking about how cold I am. I mean, it's chilly, folks. I should have left the hoodie on. It's tough to dress yourself right now because it's cold in the mornings and hot in the afternoons. We're into, I don't know what today is, October something, 20th, 21st? It's October 20 something. So we're into fall now. You can see the leaves are starting to turn. Seems like it's a little late this year. And it's tough to dress yourself right now. I don't want to be out here at dawn because it's really cold and really foggy this time of year. It was foggy this morning. I'd like for that to burn off a little bit. But you wait too late in the afternoon and then you got all the boat traffic out. So we just got a later start this morning. I slept in, let Daphne the dog out, I ate some breakfast. I cleaned up cat poop. I gotta tell you this story, folks. My regular viewers, you've heard about this damn cat. This cat, man. Hold on, let me get that hook out the bluegill. So, my neighbor, she moved. She trashed her house. I mean, it's a dump. I've told that story. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this girl, but she completely trashed the house. And anyway, she sold it to one of them real estate companies. They give you pennies on the dollar for your house. You've probably seen get your bluegill out here. Get this fish, y'all. Get hold of you fish here. He's down in the pedal drive. Lord. You just go that way, fish. There we go. That's one way to get rid of him. But anyway, she sold her house to one of them real estate companies. Pennies on the dollar. You've seen the signs everywhere. They're all over East Tennessee. We'll pay cash for your house, that type thing. Boy, I tell you, man, every single cast, we're just nailing fish down through here. This is awesome. This is a little better one right here. Oh. He unhooked himself. This is a team player right here. He thought he was going to help the cause. Since you're such a team player, let's go ahead and put you in the bucket and you can be a team player catching us catfish. So, my neighbor, she had all these cats, outdoor cats. And she moves, and I talked to her before she moved, because there's one of those cats. Most of her cats hate me. Like, they're wild. She feeds them, but they're wild. And this one cat, it was just the friendliest cat ever. I'd be outside working, it'd come up to me and just super trusting, super friendly. I was like, I don't want, she was going to take all these cats to the pound before she moved. I was like, I don't want this cat going to the pound. It's too sweet of a cat. So my buddy, Mark Naraki, formerly Deuce's Wild Fishing Charters, I was talking to him, and he's got like a little miniature farm at this point. He's got goats, he's got chickens. I mean, he's got everything over there. He's got a whole homestead going. Y'all got a snag going, is what you done. Doggone it, I can't take y'all anywhere. I told you not to throw over there. You was gonna get hung in something. You threw over there anyway. Unbelievable. I told you not to throw there. Now you done got us snagged. We just retied them in to go too. We're gonna try to get this thing out. If y'all want to call that number right there and buy this land, I promise you this piece of land right here on the river you ain't gonna get for pennies on the dollar. This place, I think that sign was up last year when I was out here. So the fact that in the hottest real estate market in Tennessee history, the fact they ain't been able to sell this place tells me they're way overpriced. There we come, we got it back. But anyway, if y'all want to buy this property here, you get some free bluegill with it. They're everywhere. So anyway, my buddy Mark, he's looking for an outdoor cat, and I'm like, man, don't go to the pound and get you no cat. I got the perfect cat for you. You can take my neighbor's cat. And so I talked to my neighbor girl before she left, and she was cool with it. She's like, yeah, take the cat, because I'm just going to take them to the pound anyway. And so Mark was going to take it. Well, as we got another fish. So the hurricane rains were coming through, right? And we didn't want to take the cat over there when all that rain was coming, because it's not going to know, it's going to be in an unfamiliar environment, not going to know where to get out of the rain and all that. So that wasn't a good time to do it. And then Mark went out of town and was like, well, we don't want to take the cat over there and him not be there, him or his wife be there to interact with it, because it needs some human interaction to hopefully make it want to stick around, not run off. And then I had my Louisiana trip, so I couldn't take it over there to him, fine, because he wasn't getting back until after I was already going to be gone. And so timing was just off. Well, I get back home, and the next day after getting home, like, I was just wore out, man. I was, from all the driving and the long hours on the water, like, I was just whooped. And so I didn't go get Daphne. Daphne the dog stayed with my parents while I was gone to Louisiana. Well, I didn't go get her my first day back. I just vegged out on the couch, man, recuperating. Well, my girlfriend had been over there feeding that cat. That's another pretty good sized bluegill right here. So my girlfriend had been feeding that cat and gotten it had been coming up to my house because Daphne, the dog, hadn't been there. And so I get home and Daphne's not there, and here comes the cat, so I'm playing with the cat and interacting with it, and it's so friendly. And then the next day, I got home. It was late Sunday night I got home. Monday, I was just vegging out. Tuesday, I went and bought this kayak down in Georgia. So I called my mom. I'm like, well, I'm gonna be getting back from Georgia kind of late. I'll probably just wait another day to come get the dog if that's all right. She said, yeah, that's fine, we'll watch her. So I get home, and of course the cat's there waiting on me on the porch and stuff. And I made a mistake, folks. It was gonna be cold the next morning, 30 something degrees, whatever, 39 degrees. I knew the cat was gonna be cold. I let it come in the house. The girlfriend wasn't there. My girlfriend's allergic. That's a better fish right here. That's another bluegill right here. It's got some color to it. Yeah, this one right here may come for a ride with us. I'm gonna have to put that aerator on in a second. Well, we got, how many we got in there now? 4? 4 bluegill? 5? We're catching so many fish today, it's hard to keep track. This is a good day. Yeah, let's go ahead and put him in. Let's get our aerator on. Oh, why is that so loud? Why is that so loud right there? Let's see if this, put this tube in, see if it'll. Okay, that's better. Boy, we wasn't about to have no aerator today if it was doing that. Hook it on the back of the bucket. There we go. Yeah, I wasn't about to listen to that all day. So anyway, I made a mistake. I let this cat come in the house. And the neighbor girl, she used to let the cat come in the house too sometimes, she said. And when I went in there to tour her house, I could tell she did not care for any animal being in her house. Hell, I don't know how she could keep them out. The windows are busted out in her house down there. Ain't like she could keep an animal out if she wanted to. But the cat comes in. And of course, you know, I spend a little time with it. I'm attached. And it's so well behaved. It's such a good cat. Now, I don't want to give it to Mark, because he's going to keep it as an outdoor cat situation. Got another one right here. Hold on. Morning. Bear with me, hold on. Got another fish anyway. I want to tell you all my cat story while kayaker's going by. Boy, that's another, boy, look at this thing right here, buddy. This one's fat. Yeah, let's throw this one in too. I'm gonna end up overcrowding this bucket. No, I ain't gonna throw that one in either, he's gone. We're gonna overcrowd that bucket, and then we're gonna get on some crappie or something. I'm gonna have to take part of them out. We're gonna end up doing exactly what I said I wasn't gonna do. Yeah, I didn't want to tell you all my cat story while kayaker was going by. But anyway, I let that cat in the house. And it did pretty good. And that's a terrible idea because my girlfriend's allergic to cats. And so she's pissed when she finds out about it because she don't want no cat. She's allergic, you know, makes her eyes swell up and water and she's sneezing and like she don't do good with cats. And so anyway, of course I done let it in, you know, it was cold. I couldn't stand the cat to be cold out there. So I let it in and it curls up in your lap. It's so good. And so now I'm attached to the damn cat. So I'm like, well, I'll keep it as an outdoor cat, right? And that sounds good in theory, except that it comes up to the door and it's just pawing. And it knows how to work my little heartstrings. And of course, Daphne gets to come inside and it'll just look at you all pitiful because it don't understand why the dog gets to come in and it don't. And so anyway, I've been feeding that cat and it's completely comfortable with Daphne. Daphne's comfortable with it. Daphne likes to chase cats that run from her. Well, this cat don't run because this cat, the neighbor girl had a, give me that jig back, bluegill, there you go. The neighbor girl had a dog, and so this cat was used to her dog, and now it's used to Daphne, and since it don't run from Daphne, then Daphne don't try to chase it. And I think, honestly, I think Daphne the dog's afraid of this cat, because this cat, when Daphne starts trying to sniff its butt, the cat brings out the claws and doesn't hesitate to swat Daphne. So I think the cat is already kind of taken over as the dominant animal at my house. But anyway, everything's going well with Daphne, the cat. The cat's pretty much staying outside of my house all the time now. I've got it used to eating up there. But I let Daphne out last night before we was going to go to bed. It was late and it was starting to get a little chilly. And there's the cat. And Daphne comes back in and the cat's looking at me and it's pawing at the door. It wants in so much. So we got another fish right here. Man, these bluegill are absolutely stacked. They are absolutely stacked right here. This is another pretty good one. Okay, well, you know what? We'll just take you too, why don't we? So, you know, it's late. It's starting to get cold. The cat's looking at me just all pitiful. Just doesn't understand why the dog can come inside and it can't. And my girlfriend's not there last night. And I'm like, she won't know. I made the mistake of telling her the first time I let the cat in, and that was a big mistake because she got all mad at me. And I thought, well, what she don't know won't hurt her. I'll just let the cat in last night and I won't tell my girlfriend, and therefore she won't be pissed off at me. So, sounds good, right? It ain't even a little white lie. It's just, you just don't say anything about it. And so, the cat comes in last night. And I was a little concerned because, I'll throw that bluegill in the bucket too. I was a little concerned because I don't have a litter box in the house. And I'm like, what if the cat has to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night? But then I was thinking like, well, it was already so late. I'm like, surely, and the cat was up on my porch. It's been sleeping on my chairs out there, porch chairs. I'm like, well, surely it's already went to the bathroom for the night. We're good. And so me and Daphne go to bed and I leave the cat in the living room. And when, you know, I sit there, I mean, we didn't go to bed immediately when we went back in the house. I made sure the cat was going to be at least not crazy in the house. You know what I mean? Like it was okay in there. And it had already been in there the other night and done okay. So anyway, I leave the cat in the living room thinking, what's the worst that can happen? Well, I guess it had to poop last night because I got up today and there's a pile of crap right in the laundry area there where we put our shoes. Thankfully, I don't think it peed last night. If it did, I haven't found it yet. But it did have to poop, so I had to clean up cat poop first thing this morning. And so I guess I need to get a litter box. But then if I do that, then my girlfriend's gonna know that I'm letting the cat in when she's not there. And that's gonna get me in trouble too. So it's like, what do you do in this situation? What do you do? Because I really wanna let this cat in like all the time. I'd like to make it just an indoor cat. And I haven't missed having a cat. Well, listen, I had a cat. I had 2 cats once upon a time. My last cat died last year. She was 16. I'd got her when I moved into the house originally. So I'd had her a long time. She is old and just got sick there last year and died. And I'd had another cat that had died a few years ago. Now it was an older cat when I had him like 5 years. It was an older cat when I got him. Don't know how old, but I got him from the pound there. And so I don't really know how old it was, but I had him 5 years. And so anyway, I'd had cats in the house before. And when my last cat died, I said, I'm never getting another cat again. Because, we got hit twice there, and neither one of them hooked up. I miss my cat, but I don't miss having a cat. The litter box, the hair, the puking, the getting all over your kitchen counters and scratching up the furniture. Like the downsides of having a cat, I have not missed one bit. But here comes this cat into my life, and I really like it, and I'm attached to it. Now I'm like, I really just I don't want to keep putting this cat outside, especially with wintertime coming. But my girlfriend's allergic to them. And she does not want that cat in the house. She's adamant about it. I'm in a bind with it. So I'm going to get me they make these heated cat houses. Since this cat's going to sleep on my porch anyway, apparently, it's where it's been sleeping. I'm going to get one of these heated cat houses. And it's like a little enclosure they can go into with I guess it's got some kind of heating element in it. They help keep them warm there at night. And so I guess that's what I'm going to end up doing, but when the girlfriend ain't there, that cat's liable to be in the house. And you can't hardly keep it out the house now because it's come in and it sits out there by the door, and so when you open the door to let the dog in, here comes the cat. And as soon as it comes in, it goes right to Daphne's food bowl and then to the water bowl. Like it knows, I guess it's been so used to being outside that whenever there's food available, it just eats because it knows it's got to, survival. But it's the sweetest cat. And so I reckon Mark's gonna have to find him a new cat. So whether I keep it inside or outside, Mark's gonna need to find a new cat because I'm gonna probably keep this cat. But here's the other thing. Speaking of cats, so the neighbor girl told me she was going to take all them other cats to the pound. Well, guess what? She didn't take them to the pound. They're still out there. And there's nobody at that house. It's vacant. The real estate company, they've not come to clean it up yet. So here I've been feeding them damn stray cats out there because I can't let them starve. There's nobody to feed them. And they're sick too. There's 2 of them that are just skin and bones. One of them you can literally hear breathing because it's like its lungs are full. You can hear the crackles. And it almost let me pet it the other day down there. Like I've been taking food down there and throwing it out on her little sidewalk there. And most of them cats, they're around. They see me. But you can't get close to them because they want to run off. This one sickly one, like it wanted me, it would keep almost arm's length away from me, just far enough where I couldn't get it. You could tell it wanted me to pet it, but it just didn't trust me enough. But you could hear the thing breathing. And it sounds so terrible. And it's just skin and bones. And I'm like, why the hell would that girl just leave them cats down there like that? Like, how do you do that? Just knowing that there's nobody there to feed them, right? I mean, I know cats are, as we got another big bluegill here. I know cats are good predators. Like, you know, a cat will turn feral, a domesticated house cat will turn feral very quickly. They can catch mice and rodents and squirrels and birds and stuff to eat. Like, they're good hunters. But you threw over that damn tree. Why'd you do that? There we go. I got it out for you. You got lucky that time. I got it back. But that girl had been feeding those cats and stuff, and then she just leaves, and now they're used to eating and getting fed every day, and now they've got nothing. And so I'm feeding them, but I don't know what to do with them sickly ones. Like, if I can get hold of that one, for sure, like, it wants me to pet it. If I can befriend it enough to trust me and get hold of it, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll take it to the vet. I don't know that they can do anything for it at this point. Yeah, I don't want to just have it put down to have it put down. Like, if there's something they can do for it, I'll certainly pay the vet bill. But then it's like, what the hell do you do with the cat? I mean, it was just a stray. I can't take them all to the vet. So I don't know. But I feel terrible. I'm a sucker for a sick animal. I don't give a damn about people. I'm completely jaded on people. But when it comes to a sick animal, when Sarah McLachlan song comes on the TV there with all the sick puppies and kitties on the TV commercial, I'm like, take my money. Just, here's a check. Plug in whatever amount you need. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a sucker for a sick animal. I can't stand to see an animal sick or cold or injured or hungry. And so now this neighbor girl, I mean, I don't know why she left them like that. And it ain't like she couldn't, like, them cats hate me. They won't let me touch them, but she could touch them. Like, they were adapted to her. They trusted her. She just up and left. Didn't take any of them to pound. Which I mean, you take a cat like that, a sickly cat like that to the pound, let's be real, they're going to put it down. That's what's going to happen. But is that worse than leaving it there to potentially starve to death? Because a sickly cat like that probably isn't going to be able to catch a mouse or a bird or a squirrel to eat. So, I mean, there is a good chance that cat does potentially starve. And so would it be better to take it and have it put down? You know, it's one of them moral dilemmas. But if I can get hold of it, I'm probably going to at least take it to the damn vet. See what they can do. If they need to put it down, I'll pay for them to put it down. If they can give it some medicine or whatever it needs to rebound. I mean, as long as it's not more than a few $100s, I'll do that. But I don't know. I don't know, folks. What I do know is I've apparently got me a new cat. It may have to be an outdoor cat, but we've got a new cat at my house. I showed it on the members video. I'd filmed my channel members video where I was showing this kayak. And at that point in time, the cat wasn't out there. But I got done filming the members video and I was doing some other stuff there before I'd uploaded the footage to my computer. And here comes the cat. And I was like, well, hell, let me grab the camera and we'll turn it back on. And so at the end of my last members video, I showed my channel members this cat. The girlfriend, who, again, hates cats because she's allergic, she's named it. She named it Midnight because it's a solid black cat with just a little bit of white. It's not even a white patch. It's just got some white hair, a few strands of white hair on its chest. And it's got these eyes that are they're very light green. Almost look like they just glow almost. But my girlfriend, she's named that cat, and we're sitting out on the porch some of these afternoons that have been real warm and comfortable. She's had that cat up in her lap. So I told the cat, I was like, listen, cat, if you really want to be in this house, it ain't me you got to win over. It's the girlfriend. Like you're gonna have to really do some sweet talking here, cat. You're gonna have to really tug on some heartstrings. Oh, that's a fish. I thought I was snagged right there, folks. That's a fish. I was about to go over there and get it because I thought we were snagged, and it just took off. This is not a bluegill. This is not a bluegill right here. I don't know what it is. I don't know what this is. He's coming behind us here. I don't think it's a bass. He would have come up by now, wouldn't he? Let's back up. This is where I missed the instant reverse with the bicycle motion pedal drive. Oh, big bass. It is a bass. Oh my gosh, y'all, that is a big smallmouth. Big smallmouth right there. Holy cow, let's back off. Let's back off. Let's see if we can steer him out. Let's see if we can steer this thing out. Get him away from the bank, away from any potential obstacles with our 2-pound line. Like he won't last long if he runs us across something. But that is a big bass. Big smallmouth. He's gonna come up again. Oh, and he spit it. Oh man. Oh, that was a big one, y'all. Dang. I honestly, that's probably my fault. I did a lousy hook set. I went to pick up on it and I thought we was in a log or a stick or something, so I just kind of popped it a couple times and I couldn't pull it out, so I was gonna work over there and pull it free, and then it just took off. Holy cow, man, y'all. That was a dang nice smallmouth. I botched that, man. I thought we were in a log. Man, y'all. Dang. Well, you know what? Maybe he's got a friend over there. Let's just throw back over there again. Sometimes them smallmouth will be in schools. Man. I wish I'd got a good hook set on that thing. I got thumped again. Had a little tap. Dang, y'all. I would have liked to have landed that one. I mean, we were prepared today. We got the net and everything. We could have got him over here. That last jump though, it sent a gulp flying. We need to replace this gulp though. It's tore up right there. Where'd my pea cup go? Got this urine specimen cup, which is a perfect container for the Gulp minnows. They don't leak. You can put about 2 jars of the 1-inch size Gulp in there. It really works out. This on the hook. You want these Gulp to be pretty straight on this hook. That way when it falls, it don't. If you get them on there crooked, they'll helicopter on the way down. You don't want that. You still catch some fish, but you'll catch a lot more if it just falls down the water column kind of straight. Man, no. That was a dang good smallmouth. Dang. I got a big smallmouth on the Ultralight back in the spring. I mean, it was a doozy. You'll be surprised. A lot of people are hesitant to throw this 1-inch gulp on a small jig head because they're like, oh, it's a bluegill bait. And I mean, you're going to catch a bunch of bluegill with it, as we've seen out here today. Sure, you're going to catch a bunch of bluegill. But you're going to catch some bass too. You're going to catch some crappie. You're going to catch some yellow bass. I mean, I've caught just about everything on this lure at some point in time. I mean, if you put a small threadfin shad like bait right in the face of a predator fish, they're going to usually eat it. And the more casts you make, the more likely you are to have something like that happen. And we just got that bait, just right place, right time in front of that fish, and boom. And that's what they're eating on right now anyway. They're eating on those small threadfin shad. So we're kind of matching the size, we're matching the color, we're representing what they're eating and making it, as it falls down, it makes it appear as if it's dying off. It's an easy meal. And if y'all hadn't have botched it right there, we'd have landed that daggone smallmouth. That would have been potentially the catch of the day. We'll need y'all to do better if we hook another one. We just might. Normally, when I'm casting this bait out, I like for it to fall. Just sink down. I catch most of the bluegill as it sinks. I catch most of the smallmouth bass as it sinks. Now, other species of fish, I tend to do better on the retrieve. Largemouth bass, yellow bass, white bass. Most of those, crappie, they're going to do, I catch more of them as I'm reeling it back in, as I pick up the bait and start the retrieve. But the good thing about this lure is it's a lure that you can catch fish both ways. Catch it on the fall and on the retrieve. That's one of the big things that I like about using the Gulp, one of the reasons I've got confidence in it versus some other types of plastics that I've tried, like trout magnet, for instance. It's another popular lure. There's the Bobby Garland and stuff. You catch fish on those, but I don't tend to get as many because I'm not getting as many fish on the fall. I catch them on the retrieve on those lures. But there's something about, I don't know if it's the Gulp as far as the action of when it's falling, or if it's the scent. There's something else right here. But there's some reason that fish are more inclined to eat this bait on the fall for me than they are other types of plastics that I've used. That fish bonked himself on the head on the way out. And so I'm a big fan of the Gulp. I have been for a few years. Caught literally thousands of fish on the Gulp, y'all. I mean, thousands. Y'all have seen it. I mean, hell, how many of these ultralight videos have I done? As this bluegill's hitting and getting it. We have caught fish all the way down. We've hardly covered any water. We ain't covered 100 yards out here this morning. And we've been catching fish the whole way. But I mean, I've caught thousands of fish on this setup. I've done it all over. It's not like this is just, we got another one. It's not like this is just a one-trick pony type situation where we're only catching fish in a pond or on a certain body of water. I've done it all over. I've done this in multiple states. I'm gonna be taking this setup when I go down to Florida. Get ready for some videos with this ultralight setup because I'm gonna go to Lake Ida and I'm gonna throw this. At one point, either on the way down or the way back, I'm gonna hit the Everglades, get down in some of them canals. I'm gonna throw this setup and I'm gonna catch some fish there. Probably some exotics and some peacock bass. Lake Ida, I'll catch peacocks and some of them copper-nosed bluegill and some exotics. When I get down to the ocean, down there in the Keys, I'm gonna throw this setup around the docks and the bridges, and I'm gonna catch a variety of fish on it down there too. Like you can catch fish all over with this setup. And man, I always, every time I do one of these videos, I feel like I'm turning into a damn salesman, not for the Gulp. I mean, you can use other types of lures and catch fish. But what I am trying to sell you on is ultralight fishing in general. Because, hold on. That bass boat, man, going by 100 miles an hour. Me and you, we done hooked more bass anyway than that guy will see all day going 70 miles an hour. But I feel like I'm a damn salesman on these videos for ultralight fishing. And again, I don't care the rod, the reel, the jigs, the baits. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Gulp, but you can use trout magnets or Bobby Garlands or whatever and catch some fish. What I am an advocate for and a salesman for really is just the ultralight fishing in general, because it's something you can do anywhere and catch fish. When you're throwing a small bait like this, you're representing basically the lowest rung of the totem pole as far as bait fish go, right? Something thumped me right there. Another bluegill. So you're representing the bottom of the food chain. Look at this fish. He's all wrapped up in it. You look ridiculous right now, bluegill. There you go. And you got that thing kind of deep too. Where are my pliers at? But when you're representing a bait that's the bottom of the food chain, everything's going to eat it. And if everything's going to eat it, then you're going to end up catching a bunch of fish. And let's be real, most of you out there, at least I think anyway, based on the feedback I've gotten from talking to people, those of you I've met, those of you who've commented on these ultralight videos. I mean, I've had my channel, it's called Kayak Catfish. Most of my videos are catfish related, right? I've honestly had more people reach out, give me feedback and stuff from the ultralight videos about how they gave it a chance because of my videos, and they've had so much fun, and this is all they want to do. Because, the catfishing, look, I can teach you how to catch catfish. I've caught a bunch of fish in a variety of states on this channel. But if you don't have catfish, or you don't have a lot of places that you all watch, maybe you have catfish, but you don't have blues. Or maybe you don't have big fish. You might enjoy my videos, but they're of no real use to you if you don't have the fish available. But when it comes to a technique like this, ultralight fishing, everybody has some kind of fish that will eat these smaller baits. Maybe you're somewhere, you've got a bunch of bluegill. Maybe you're somewhere that has a bunch of perch, crappie, bass, whatever. You're going to have a chance at catching those fish, and you're going to have a blast doing it because everything is fun. Even these smaller bluegill we've got today on this setup, which, you've got an ultralight. That's a terrible cast. When you got an ultralight rod, man, it don't take a giant fish to put a bend in it. And then when you do hook something like the smallmouth that we hooked into there a few minutes ago, holy cow, just hang on to your drawers because you're in for a good time. And don't worry about 2-pound line. Like, you don't want a big bass like that to run you over a rock or a branch. But you'd be surprised if you play your drag correctly, you can land some really big fish on 2-pound line in an ultralight. I've gotten big drum, carp. Last year, hell, I think we hooked a buffalo. I mean, there's just crazy catches on the ultralight and 2-pound line. Like, it's doable. And the 2-pound line, of course, is going to allow you to cast these jigs further. You're going to get more bites. Whether it's the diameter of the line, the way the bait falls, I don't know, but you get way more on the 2-pound line than what you do trying to throw it on 4 or 6-pound. So go with a true ultralight setup and go out and have some fun, man. And you can do it anywhere. And I promise you, if you give it a chance, you're going to love it. And the gear, look, when you go, if you want to be a cat fisherman, you're going to need some gear, right? Like, most cat fishermen are going to be fishing with at least 2 rods. Most cat fishermen are going to fish with way more than that. But you're probably going to fish with 2 rods at least. The rods are more expensive. The reels are more expensive. Line, sinkers, hooks. Then, let's say you kayak fishing. Well, you're going to need an anchor, probably, if you're going to anchor fish. Even if you want to drift fish, you're going to need a graph if you're going to drift. You're going to need rod holders on your kayak. Like, there's all these damn accessories that you got to have. When you go ultralight fishing, once you've bought 1 rod and 1 reel and get you a handful of jig heads and whatever plastic you want to use, you're done. That's it. You can walk the bank and do this. You want to get out in a kayak, get out in any kayak you want. You don't need any gear. You don't need a graph. You don't need rod holders. You don't need anything. You can be very minimal setup. And so it's inexpensive. Now, this rod that I have, I don't know what they cost today. I've had this thing, hell if I know. Somewhere probably between 7 and 10 years now, I've had this one particular rod. But I think it was like $110 when I got it. So it's a pricier rod. It's not like the same price level as a JDM rod, the very high-end ultralight. It's not that, but it's not a cheap Dock Demon or whatever you'd get at Walmart. You don't want a real cheap fiberglass ultralight rod. They're too whippy. You can't hardly cast with them. You're not going to feel the lighter bites with them. You need a graphite rod. You don't necessarily have to have a $100 class rod, but you want a graphite rod that's going to allow you to cast, allow you to feel some bites. So maybe you spend a little more up front on this rod right here. I don't know what it costs today, but let's say you spend $100 on a rod and you got maybe 50 bucks on a reel. Jigs, plastics, line, your whole setup, you're under $200 and you're set for 10 years potentially. Or longer if you take care of it. And that's the only gear you need. This is the only gear you need to come out here. And how many fish have we caught today? We've got to have between 30, 50 fish already. My math ain't very good. I ain't been counting, but I mean, we've had a fish on almost every cast, except for the last 5 or 10 casts here. We got a little current, it seems like, pushing us this way, so I turned around for a second to kind of work around this tree a little better. And then we'll get back on the move, but go in this direction. But my point is, from a cost perspective, ultralight fishing ends up being, even if you buy a higher end rod up front, when you average it out over the course of time that you're going to be using it, this rod here, let's say $100, 10 years, well, that's $10 a year that it works out to. So it ends up being cheap in the long run. And because the type of fishing we're doing, we'll only need one. I don't need a whole set of rods. So it ends up being cheap, and it's just so much fun, and it's so productive. And if you're a type of person that's impatient, you need constant action, well, this is the way to do it, because there's always something. Even if it's just bluegill, it's something biting, and it's fun. It's a fun way to fish. And you never know what you're going to catch. You can catch 20 bluegill in a row, and then boom, you've got a big smallmouth on. So I encourage everybody to try it. And I've had so many people through the years. I'm pretty sure I posted my first ultralight video. I think it was 2016. So what is that? 8 years ago? So I've had this rod for sure over 8 years, because I know I was using this rod in that video. So 8 years, I've had so many people tell me, like, man, Justin, you sold me on ultralight fish, and I gave it a shot, and then they love it, and that's all they want to do. And I don't blame you. Like, you know, I spend a lot of time catfishing, and I love catfishing, especially from a kayak. It's a lot of fun. I love catching big fish in a kayak. But it's a different kind of fun, and it's great. And I wish you would try it. I don't push people as hard to try kayak catfishing, because I know so many of you watch all over the country, some of you, in some cases, all over the world. I get a lot of international viewers too. And you may just not have catfish. You may not have big catfish. And just to be honest with you, kayak catfishing, even if you enjoy catfishing, doing it from a kayak isn't for everybody. It's fun. I love it. But it's not for everybody. Okay? There's a lot of people. I've had a lot of people. Here's the thing. I've had a lot of people that have said, man, Justin, I love your channel. You have so much fun out there. Like, I went and bought me a kayak. I've rigged it up for catfishing. I've had so many people tell me they've tried it because of my videos. And then they get on the water and they're like, man, you make it look easy, Justin. But then they've had problems with it, you know, like they're having trouble landing fish, or trouble rigging their kayaks up, or they're just not comfortable out there, or, you know, a variety of reasons that they end up just either not sticking with it, or, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of people tell me too that they've tried kayak catfishing, they love it, it's all they want to do now. But I've had a lot of people through the years tell me they've tried it and just kayak fishing just wasn't for them, or it wasn't as easy as what they thought it was going to be based on what they'd seen on my channel. I have never, so we got another fish here. I have never, since I posted that first ultralight video to my channel 8 years ago, pretty sure it was 2016, I've never had one person comment or send me an email, or somebody I've met out in person. I've never had one person tell me, Justin, I tried ultralight fishing based on your recommendation and I hate it. I don't want to do it, it ain't no fun. I've never had anybody tell me that, ever, with ultralight fishing. Everybody that have ever commented and told me they've tried it because of me, they love it every single time, 100%. And so I know if you try it, you will too, and you'll have a bunch of fun and catch a bunch of fish. Now, with that said, you're going to have more success if you do, it's, you know, the old saying, do as I say, not as I do, it don't apply to this. If you're going to do ultralight fishing, you need to do it correctly. 2-pound line, folks. That's so important, 2-pound line. I don't care what brand. I'm using the Trout Magnet brand here. Use whatever 2-pound line you want to. Stren, Berkeley, probably a bunch of other brands, I don't know. They're all great. I use the Trout Magnet because it's cheap. I get the 10,000 yard spool for 40 bucks. And so most of those filler spools, 300 yards or whatever, they're $6 or $8 a piece. I buy that 10,000 yard spool for $40. It lasts years. I can re-spool my line all the time for a few cents. It costs me 25 cents or whatever to re-spool my reel here. So that's why I use the trout main line. But it is so important to use, here, I missed one. I'm gonna let it sink back down. I can't tell you how important it is to use 2-pound line. When I've had problems, or I've had people tell me they've had problems, they say, man, Justin, I went out, I love catching fish on the ultralight, but I'm just not getting as many bites as you. I'm not getting the action. Or I can't cast those jigs as far as you do. I always ask, what line you using? And it's always, 4-pound line, 6. I've had people tell me 8-pound line before. And I'm like, why are you using 8-pound lines? Like, well, 2-pound, I'm fishing around trees and stuff. Like, dude, you're not going to catch. First off, you're not going to be able to cast a 1/64 ounce jig on 8-pound line. You're not going to be able to cast with any distance at all. And second, the line is so thick, especially if you're fishing in clear water. The jig, it's not going to have the right presentation. You got to go light line, 2-pound line. Go with the 2-pound line. If you're just super neurotic about it, go with 4, but do not go beyond 4-pound line. Do not. You're going to regret it. If you go beyond 4-pound line, you're just not going to be able to cast. And the lighter the line you go, the more bites you're going to get. Now, will you lose some fish? Sure. You're going to lose some fish. You're going to break off sometimes. They're going to run you across a rock, a tree, something. Like, that's going to happen from time to time. But guess what? If you ran that same fish ran you over the tree with 4-pound line, you're probably still breaking off. If they ran it over with 6-pound line, you're probably still breaking off. So try the 2-pound line. The other thing you've got to do, and this ain't so much important in general as it is just with if you're going to use the Gulp. If you're using the Gulp minnows, they are a very soft plastic. Like, it's a softer plastic than the Trout Magnet or the Bobby Garland for sure. Like, it's a different material. This plastic tears very easily. And so if you are using a hook that is bigger in this 1-inch size here, I like a number 8 size hook. If you're using a larger hook, let's say you're using a number 6 or a number 4 size hook, you're going to tear those Gulp. Here's fish. You are going to be tearing them very frequently. You are not going to get as many fish. How many fish did we catch on that first Gulp earlier today before that fish swallowed it and we had to cut it off? What did we catch? 20 fish probably on that one Gulp? I've had so many people tell me, like, Justin, man, like, they tell me, like, I can't catch any fish. Every time I catch a fish on the Gulp, I'm tearing it. I'm having to replace it. Always ask, what size hook are you using? They either don't know, or it's a number 6, a number 4 size hook. It's always a larger hook. You got to go, the smaller the hook, the better. There's another one. If you will go with a number 8 size hook, it's perfect. It's a perfect size for the 1-inch Gulp. And it's so small, you're just not going to tear them as frequently. And so that's going to let you get 8 fish, 10 fish, maybe 20 fish, depending on what you're catching, per Gulp before you tear it. And so you're going to get better value for your money because you're going to catch more fish on it. between tearing. If you use the larger hook, not only are you going to limit your bites, because you get them smaller bluegill, they're not going to be able to get say a number 4 size hook as easily as they can a number 8. But you're going to tear up more of the gulp too. And so you're just shortchanging yourself. So that's the 2 biggest, if you're going to try ultralight fishing, which I highly encourage you to do, you got to do 2 things. You got to go 2-pound line, and you got to go number 8 size hooks. You do that, you're going to have a great experience. If you don't do that, you might still have a great experience, but it ain't going to be nearly as good as what it would be if you would use the appropriate size gear. I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but I'm just trying to tell you, based on my experience, what I've learned from making some mistakes through the years and figuring out and dialing in my setup as far as what works for me. There's another one. They are all on this bank, man. There are just a million fish down through here, and the current's moving us. They must be moving water down the clinch right now, because water is getting pushed up into the Emory, and we're drifting faster than what I want to drift down through here. So we're going to end up turning here in a second and going back upriver a little bit so we can control our speed a little better and work this area a little bit more thoroughly. But I just want you to, I want to key in on those things, folks. Again, I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but I want to key in on these things, the important things. You need 2-pound line. The lighter the jig you can throw, the better. I like the 1/64 ounce. I don't want to go above a 1/32. But the heavier the jig, the faster it falls, the less bites you're going to get on the fall. So you want to go lightweight. Number 8 size hook, very important. I do recommend, if you can budget it, if you can afford it, get you a graphite rod. Don't go with those whippy fiberglass ugly stick rods there at the Walmart. They're 4.5 foot long, and you can sit there and just whip them up and down. Like that's, you're never going to feel. One, you're going to have a harder time casting. 2, you're not going to feel a light bite. You're just never going to, and some of these fish, you're not going to feel the bite. Even with a sensitive graphite rod, you're not. You're just going to go to pick up on your jig and like, oh, there's weight on there. You're not going to feel them inhale that bait. That smallmouth, that was a big smallmouth. I never felt it. I thought I just got into a tree. Never felt him eat it. So you're not going to feel a lot of your bites anyway. But I promise you, you're using one of them flimsy fiberglass rods, forget about it. So spend a little more on a graphite rod. You don't have to go $100. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some good graphite ultralight rods in the $40, $50 range. Maybe you get a used one or something. I don't know. But I encourage you to try it, number 1. But 2, set yourself up, put yourself in a position to succeed. Don't be like, well, I saw Justin using this, but I'm going to try 8-pound line instead. No, you're just, no, but I can't tell you how many times through the years I've had people tell me, well, Justin, I'm having a good time with this. I love it, but I'm just not getting the number of bites you do. And we go into detail on it. I start asking questions, and I know the answers before I even ask. Because this ain't my first rodeo, folks. Like I've had so many people through the years tell me, yeah, I was using 6-pound line, I was using 8-pound line. I don't know, I just bought these jig heads. I don't know what size the hook is. I go, And these hooks, these jig heads, I'll tell you this, I've told this before in some of these other videos too, but like when you buying these jig heads, get online, get on eBay and find you whoever's on there selling them the cheapest at the time. They're fairly cheap. If you buy them from like a private seller on eBay, type in shad dart jig heads, 1/64 ounce, number 8 hook. And most of the time, them private sellers on there, like you type in 1/64 ounce shad dart, they'll have a little drop down box or something, and you can pick the size of hook that you want. It's number 6, 8, 4, 10, whatever. But you can get these jig heads cheap. The more of them you buy, the cheaper they become. Per jig anyway. Because a lot of the cost with these jig heads is the shipping. That's where a lot of the fees come in at. So the last ones, I buy these things in bulk. I got a few thousand of them at my house right now. I've got a few thousand jig heads, and during the pandemic when you couldn't get no fishing supplies, I found you couldn't find Gulp anywhere at the tackle shops around here. But I got on eBay and I bought every jar this person had on there, and so I've still got a bunch of Gulp from a few years ago in my closet with some other fishing gear. I mean, I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse, man. I've got a few thousand jig heads and a bunch of jars of Gulp, and so I'm at 10,000 yard spool of line. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm set. That's all I need. You give me an ultralight rod, some jig heads, Gulp, and let me drop my kayak in anywhere, and I'm gonna catch some fish somewhere. Now every place you fish ain't necessarily gonna be like this, or you're just getting bit damn near every cast. Like today's a pretty incredible day here. And I fish here about once a year. It seems like I come down here. I don't know why I don't fish here more. I just oh, well, that one hit it as soon as it hit the water. Drag slip too. I don't know why I don't fish here more. I just don't. But I always catch fish here. I don't know that I've caught as many fish here before as what we've got today, because it's been pretty incredible the number of bites we're getting today. And right now I'm just kind of, because the current, it's coming down the clinch, and so it's pushing up in here right now. We drifted down, we were drifting too fast, so I've turned, and I'm slowly working back through here. We're gonna work this area, and then we'll go down some more and turn and work back up. We'll just incrementally kind of make our way down. But yeah, man, most people that go fishing want to catch fish, right? Like, that's the number one goal. Sure, we all want to catch big fish. Catching big fish, catching trophy fish, that's fun, right? But the number one goal when you leave your house to go on a fishing trip is to catch fish. That's the most fun that you can do, is catch. Nobody wants to get skunked. And I don't know about you, but days where I go out and I catch 50 fish in a session, or 100 fish, I don't know how many we're going to end up with a day. It's going to be a bunch. Even though we didn't land that big smallmouth, maybe we only get bluegill today that we actually land. I'm going home happy, man. I'm going to go home feeling accomplished today. I'm going to feel like I've had a successful trip. And so when you can do that every time that you go out on the water, that's an awesome feeling. It's a truly awesome feeling to feel like you're successful and accomplished every time you leave the water from a fishing trip. And that's possible when you're ultralight fishing. There's a lot of days I catfish that I don't feel successful. Hell, there's a lot of weeks I go catfishing, I don't feel successful. Maybe I'm in a slump, maybe I'm not catching anything, or I'm not getting the quality of fish I want. When I'm ultralight fishing, I don't care about quality. Sure, I would love to stumble into some crappie out here today. I would love it. I would have loved to have landed that big bass. I'd love to hook another one. But if all we catch today, the rest of the day out here is 5 and 6 inch bluegill, doesn't matter because I'm going to have fun either way. I'm going to have so much fun reeling in these fish. Like, I don't care that we're not necessarily getting huge bluegill or a huge bass or whatever. But let me tell you, you throw the ultralight enough, you're going to get those big fish. I've caught, I promise you this is the God's honest truth. Hand on a Bible if we had one out here. I've caught more big bass on my ultralight than what I have when I'm throwing actual bass lures. Now, part of that's because I'm just such a lousy bass fisherman, but still, I've caught way more big bass on the ultralight than what I ever have throwing traditional bass lures. So, you throw it enough, you're eventually going to drop it right on the nose of big largemouth and big smallmouth, and they will eat it. Just like that smallmouth a little while ago done. We got another one right here. I saw my line swimming. There's another one I didn't feel. I just saw my line take off. Bluegill. You know what? We might throw you in the bucket too. I'll stick that rod right there in the rod holder. Again, I've got these rod holders temporarily put on here. This kayak, it's got these molded in gear tracks here, plastic. I don't like plastic gear tracks, but you can't drill into this hole. It even says a little warning there, do not drill into a hole. So I got to come up with something to be able to mount. So, of course, when I'm down there in the ocean shark fishing, I'm going to have the clickers. If I go carp fishing, I'm going to have my drags loose. So that's not a huge deal, but still, you know, I want to have rod holders mounted in such a way that I trust them. So I'll put these on here today just to kind of get a feel for maybe where I can put them and them not be in the way. Yeah, so far so good. I mean, it does give me a place to kind of put the rod while I'm unhooking a fish. I bought, hold on a second, I'll show you, get this fish in. Well, boy, we about jerked him plumb out the water. We about jerked him out again. It's an acrobatic fish right here. I bought some accessories for this kayak, one of which is a rod holder that clamps to the seat. Now, it's not made for like throwing out and waiting on a fish to bite, but like if you're unhooking a fish, you can put that down right there and sit there while you're unhooking a fish. But I do kind of like, it's easier for me to get to up here. So I kind of like that a little better, I guess, so far. But anyway, I bought that. Navarre Kayak Fishing, they make some accessories for the Hobie Link. So I picked that up. I bought some seat risers to raise the seat up. It raises it 1.5 inches in the back and 1 inch in the front. And then I've put these seat cushions on that I had from my other kayak. I put them on the seat. So that gives me a little extra height. Because that was another concern I had about this kayak, is that the seat sat kind of low to the deck. And I wasn't sure, me being a taller person, long legs, I wasn't sure that I was going to find that comfortable. But so far, I'm not uncomfortable out here. And we've only been on the water, 2 hours. So it's not a long enough trip to really judge it, but I'm not uncomfortable. So there's that. What else did I buy? I got that skid plate there in the front that I put on. I also got in the back, the kayak has, we got another one. The kayak has like skid plates in the back to kind of protect the hull, but they don't go all the way to the back of the hull for some reason. And so that Navarre kayak fishing, they make some that actually protect the back of the kayak too. And so I got some of those to, to again, try to baby this thing, to try to protect it best we can. There's another one, I saw my line twitch. So I got those. The other big accessory that I'm getting for this kayak, and it has been a challenge to find, is a motor system called a Texas Power Paddle motor system. It is a very small motor. It's not a motor that's going to move you fast. In fact, it barely moves you the speed you can pedal. But after I got in this kayak on that first session, and I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna not like this kayak. I wanted to get that little motor, and it drops down in your, here's the fish. It drops down in the transducer slot of these Hobie kayaks. Up under the hull, there's a transducer area there. So if you've got a fish finder installed, which I'm probably not going to put one on this kayak, it protects your transducer up inside the kayak. Well, this Texas Power Paddle company makes a little small motor that goes in that cavity there. You turn that motor on, the motor pops out, propels you. You turn it off, it goes back up in the slot. So it's kind of protected and out of the way. And I thought I would put that on there, so if I'm out there in the ocean, I get drug out a long ways fighting a big fish, and I start getting that sciatic pain, I flip on that motor and propel myself. Again, it's not a very powerful motor. It's very small. Like it's going to move you about your pedaling speed. It's not like a motor that's going to move you really fast, but it'll move you just enough. And so the problem with those things is you can't find them. The company that sells them, they're out. They claim they're not getting any more in until spring of 2025. Well, when is spring of 2025? Is that March? Is that May? Who the hell knows? So that's concerning. I'm like, what kind of company runs out of stock for 6 months or more? Like, that's concerning. But everybody that you read the reviews online, you get on the social media forums or social media groups, everybody raves about these things. I haven't really found, I've had some people, comments on there, posts and stuff that have talked about, some of them have had battery problems, like getting the battery to charge, which ironically, I just had that happen with my other kayak. I can't get the damn battery to charge. But nobody's had problems with the motor that I can find. And so anyway, I was like, I'm gonna get me one of those. Well, the company's out, you can't get them. I found one online at a store called Ocean Kayak. They're up in Maryland. And so according to their website, they had them in stock. And so I tried ordering one. Well, come to find out, they don't actually have them in stock. Apparently, you order from them, they then order from the company and have the company send it to you, like I guess like a drop shipping type thing. So, well, guess what? Surprise, the company don't have any. So the company that I ordered from didn't really have them in stock. So that didn't work out. Well, somebody else had made a post on I think it was Facebook. I saw it. It would have had to be on Facebook, the Hobie Links Facebook group. And asking if anybody knew anybody that had any of those motors in stock. And somebody had mentioned what's it called? Zia Outfitters in New Mexico had them. And I got on their website, and they have a website, but it's not set up for shopping. Like, you can see things they carry on there, but you can't actually order on their website. So I call them on the phone. And I spoke to, I think, the owner of the company that picked up out there. Apparently it's a small shop. And I was like, look, do you have one? He's like, man, I got one left in stock. And I was like, I know you're in New Mexico, but would it be possible, could I pay you to ship this thing to me? Like, I mean, I'll gladly pay the postage. And he's like, man, it's going to be expensive postage to ship one of these. I'm like, well, you're the only person in the country that has one, apparently. I'm going to pay it. And so it's supposedly coming. But I think that will help me if I get drug out to sea. So I'm definitely more motivated to like this kayak because I've spent the money on accessories now a little bit. But I think either way, I could sell this kayak if I had a problem with it, recoup my money from the kayak. The motor, obviously, I would take a bit of a hit on, but I could potentially put that on my Old Town kayak. Buy a different mount for it to go on the rudder of my Old Town kayak and use it. So I don't really consider that to be necessarily a bad thing, a potential loss in that, because that was part of my thinking when I started looking for that motor. Like, in the event that I don't end up keeping this or don't like this kayak for some reason, I'll stick that little motor on my Old Town kayak, and days where I'm out there making a bait run and I get tired, I just don't want to pedal or whatever, kick that motor on and use it to troll around and get bait and stuff. So anyway, those are some of the accessories I've purchased for this kayak. That Texas Power Paddle motor, it comes with the motor, battery, the cords, like it's a complete kit setup. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I like that it goes down in that transducer slot. It's very convenient. It's out of the way. You don't have wires going everywhere. The control for the motor actually goes on your rudder steering handle. It connects on right here. It's got a little knob, so it's very convenient. It's got. I wish it was faster. It's a very weak motor. I mean, I guess it's powerful for the size, but it's. I mean, you're going to get 3 miles an hour, 3.5 miles an hour out of it. You can pedal with the motor and get faster. So that's kind of what I was kind of thinking about, like a pedal assist type thing. You turn that motor on and pedal, and then you can crank it up the speed a little bit. But just running the motor and not pedaling, you're not going to go very fast. But if it keeps me from getting that sciatic pain, then it's going to be worth it. So anyway, it should be here sometime this week, I guess, or next week. I don't know how long it'll take to get it from New Mexico. If you want one of them motors, though, buddy, you're out of luck. I don't know why. How the hell does a company run out? That's a nice bluegill. How does a company run out of stock for potentially 6 months or more? I mean, don't they plan for that? It's not like a few years ago during the pandemic where you couldn't get stuff from overseas. I have to believe they should be able to place an order. I mean, all this stuff comes from China, let's be real, every bit of it does. But they should be able to place an order, and even if they send it by boat, have it in a few weeks, not a few months. So, there's some flaw in the slaw there. It ain't adding up, it ain't making sense. I hope they don't go out of business though, because I mean, if that happens, then you have problems with the motor, you need a warranty claim, you're just out of luck. That's kind of, right now, I don't know if y'all have heard this or not. There was just a brief press release on it. It really didn't get the attention that I thought it would get. Somebody's going to come right down through here right beside us, full speed. I don't know why the hell they can't get over a little bit. But Motor Guide is done. Y'all, Motor Guide is a trolling motor company. Been around my entire life. I've got that Motor Guide XI3 on my Hobie Pro Angler. They're done. Their brand is shut down. Their parent company released a press release statement saying that they were shutting down the brand, that they were going to just make motors under the Lowrance and the Simrad names now. And I read it as they're basically, Motor Guide's basically going out of business type thing. Like, I think of Motor Guide as a big brand in the trolling motor space. I mean, I don't know their sales, but they're certainly well known, especially in the kayak world because of their XI3 motor. But yeah, they're done. Yeah, just like gone, no more. They claim they're still going to honor the warranty and all that of the motors that they've got on the market right now, but once that's done, like, it's over. So very surprising on that. I didn't see that one coming. I know these outdoor companies, the fishing brand companies, were struggling. Johnson Outdoors, which they make Old Town kayaks, they make Minn Kota trolling motors, Humminbird electronics. Like they've got that's the parent brand of a few companies that we know pretty well in the fishing community. They've really been struggling financially, I know. Their stock is down about 50% off the highs, and I know, I don't say I know, I'd heard through the grapevine that Old Town, who has always had a very high marketing budget, they're at all these trade shows and whatnot. I had heard that they were on travel restrictions, like they weren't doing any more shows this year, any more expos. They've cut their marketing way back. Like, I had heard that they were kind of struggling a bit financially. So I had heard that prior to this, and then now we know Motor Guide's going under. And so it's like, well, maybe the fishing industry as a whole is really not doing all that well. They keep raising prices on everything, and the quality keeps going down on everything, and I guess it's affecting sales. I mean, people go fishing, you still got to buy stuff, but I don't know. A little concerning when you see a company like a Motor Guide. It is to me. It's like, that's a big domino to fall. Speaking of kayaks, though, so I've talked about wanting one of these for a while, but the main kayak that I've been talking about getting, and that I'm planning on getting, and I'll have to pay full price for it because it's brand new, just come out, but it's the Bonafide XTR 130. At least I think I want to get it. I want to see it in person before making a final decision, but I've talked about it for a while, and I thought I would already have it by now. I was going to buy it from Raccoon Creek Outfitters because they're a sponsor of our catfish tournaments, and I wanted to kind of support them since they've supported our kayak catfishing tournament trail so much. Lord knows I've benefited from Raccoon Creek because I've won quite a bit on them tournaments, and I won the tournament down there in Louisiana last week. So the money they're chipping in, sponsoring the tournament, I've benefited from that. So I kind of want to give back to them, show my support to them. Well, they were supposed to get the bona fide kayak in there the 1st of October. And then that hurricane hit, dumped all that rain in North Carolina, and bona fide shut down for a little while. And that happened right before Raccoon Creek was supposed to get their shipment of the kayaks in. So they didn't end up getting them, and they still don't have them. Now, they may have gotten them by the time you're seeing this video. My video is a little bit behind. But they don't have them yet. And so, oh, well, my line jumped. I thought something really had me. It was a small bluegill. So anyway, I don't have that kayak yet. I know I've seen a lot of the dealers do have them now. I'm seeing more and more stuff online from dealers getting them in stock, but the local dealers nearest me don't have them. And then the dealer that I want to buy it from, assuming I end up still wanting it after I see it, they don't have it yet. So I don't know exactly when I'm going to get it. Now, we've got our tournament coming up on Santee Cooper in what? 10 days? Less than that? Not this coming Saturday, but the next Saturday is our Santee Cooper tournament. So I'm probably not going to have it before then. And so if I can't have it before the end of our tournament season, I guess there's no real reason to rush into getting it. I'll probably just wait until I get my trailer. My trailer, and I need to inquire about that. I had reached out, I'd put the deposit down on that new kayak trailer from Fish, Texas. Oh boy, I nailed that leaf. There we go. That thing popped when I hit it, didn't it? Maybe I'll go on the other side of this tree before making another cast. Hit it from a different angle. But I'd put that deposit on the trailer back in July. And they had told me 90 days. There's one. Well, we're at the 90 days, folks. I still don't have a trailer. And I'd reached out before I went to Louisiana to try to get a time update. And they said they were hoping to start building it on October 20th. Well, I don't know if they did or they didn't. But hopefully they're going to start it soon. And I don't know how long it takes them to build a trailer. There's another one. But they get that trailer built. They'll have to ship it to me because they're in Texas. And what is this? Look, I want you to look at this fish. What is, hold on, let me get the hook out first. Look at this fish right here. What is this growing out of his lip? You see that? It's like a little tooth. I don't know what that is right there. It's like he's got a fang. That fish right there, he's embarrassed about it too. I've hurt that fish's feelings. He's upset with me now. I done hurt his feelings. He didn't want anybody noticing that, and here I was making a spectacle of it. Fish will never forgive me. I got one of his friends here that ain't gonna forgive me either. There's a bunch more fish right here up under this tree. We'll have to get us turned back around here in a second. The current don't seem to be moving right now. They must have quit moving water or something. Oh, no, that one hit it a little harder. That one did. That's a little better one right there. This might be another one. I'll tell you what, bluegill. How many bluegill have we got in that bucket now? This is one. He's threw the gulp off. Let me just look, let me take a peek up here in the bucket. I think we got enough in there. I don't want to overcrowd it because then they won't do well. I'm gonna stand up here a second, y'all. You can see, I mean, I'm standing up on this thing. It's pretty rock solid to stand on. I mean, I sit here and wiggle my legs and we can rock it back and forth, but I mean, to just stand up on this kayak, this platform, it feels pretty good. It feels pretty solid. It does get blown around a little bit. Like, I mean, the wind's not blowing today, but you're sitting on top of the water. You're not down in the water like a kayak, so that's tough to explain, but like if the wind's blowing, you're gonna move across the water a little easier. But to just stand up, stretch my legs, like I wish the seat was a smidge higher. It would make somebody like me a little bit taller. It would make it a little easier for me to get up and down if the seat was a little higher. But once I'm up, standing up is that's pretty solid. Pretty solid platform here. And there's no give in the floor. The floor is solid because it's just foam wrapped in plastic. So like there's no, you know how sometimes your kayak floor, when you've got plastic and then space under there, like inside the hull, like sometimes it'll give a little bit depending on what kayak you're in or where you step. There's no give at all in this. Like it's just solid floor, no matter where you step on it. So I'm kind of liking this thing right now. It's new, it's the shiny new toy, so we're in the honeymoon period. Will I still like it 6 months from now? We'll see. We'll see how it goes when I'm at the ocean there. But so far, so good, man. The throwing the net from it there for the shad, that went well. Going out here today, we're catching 1 million fish. This is going well. And I promise you, when I load this thing up today, I got the wheels here. This Hobie cart, it goes in the scuppers here, and you got the wheels, just put them up under the bottom. And they go down in there and hold in place. When I put those in to walk back to the vehicle when we're done today, man, it's gonna be so nice because it's so lightweight, so kind of into it right now. But anyway, back to the trailer. Like, the trailer is hopefully going to be done soon. Hopefully, I don't know how long it takes them to build, but hopefully we're in the home stretch with this thing. And I get the new trailer. I mean, I might as well, here's what I'm thinking. Since the Bonafide kayak, the shipment's been delayed getting to Raccoon Creek, I'm not gonna have it before our final tournament of the year. There's no real point in me, because what I was gonna have to do is take the trailer that I have now for my Hobie, take the Hobie off, readjust the bunks to accommodate the Bonafide until the new trailer gets here. Then when the new trailer gets here, set it up for the Bonafide, then set the other trailer back up for the Hobie before I sell it. Because I'm gonna try to sell the kayak and trailer just all in one package. So that's a lot of extra hassle that don't really need to be done, since I'm not gonna get it's a nice bluegill here. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a thick, look how thick that bluegill is, man. Look at the gut on him. Listen, fish, when I'm referring to you as being fat, that's a compliment as a fish. If you was a human, I'd be insulting you. You wouldn't go up to a human and be like, boy, look at the gut on that one. But whether you do it with a fish, it's perfectly okay. It's a compliment. It's funny how that works, ain't it? But, I mean, if we're talking about me delaying getting the new kayak by an extra 2 weeks or 3 weeks and not have to go through all the hassle of reconfiguring the trailers, maybe it's worth it to just wait. And I don't know for sure when Raccoon Creek's getting their shipment in. So, I don't know. I know a lot of you have been asking and been curious about the new Bonafide kayak, and especially for catfishing applications. I think it's got potential to be a nice, if I can figure out how to put rod holders on it. It'll definitely be easier to put rod holders on the Bonafide than what it is this Hobie Lynx here. But this Hobie Lynx is not going to be, I mean, I would like to catch a catfish in this thing. I think it'd be fun. I probably will try it at some point, but this ain't going to be like a primary catfishing kayak for me. This is going to be more for saltwater trips, ultralight trips. If I'm making a quick bait run, I want to drop in the back of a creek somewhere. Maybe I don't have a boat ramp or something like that. Like, that's what I'm going to use this for, more so than catfishing. But the Bonafide, and a lot of you out there follow my channel for the catfishing content. I know a lot of people are interested in that kayak and how it's going to do for catfishing, rigging it up and all that. And I'm interested to see it myself in person. Just see what it's going to take to get rod holders on there, where I want to put stuff. It's got a lot of potential. I mean, it's going to be heavy. It definitely ain't going to be like 47 pounds like this thing. It's like 170 pounds. Ain't that crazy? That Bonafide kayak is 130 pounds heavier than this Hobie Lynx that I'm in. I mean, it's crazy. What's really crazy is the fact we just keep catching one fish after another, man. This one's ate it kind of deep too. Can I have that jig back, bluegill, please, and thank you? Well, we almost had it then. Almost. There we go. I think that right there might have been bleeding too. I don't know if he's going to make it, but we got our jig back. I should have probably threw him in the cooler. I've put a, let me show you this right quick too, for those of you who might be interested. The one big downside of this kayak is space is limited. Because you don't have any internal storage, everything's on top of the deck. So behind me here, I've got this smaller cooler that I used to use in my Old Town kayak with rod holders on the back. I've just got it setting here. Now it's got some tie down areas, like right there, and some bungees and stuff. And I'll eventually rig up something to be able to secure this, especially when I'm in the ocean. But I've just got this on here for now so that if we catch any bait today, anything that we want to throw in there for cut bait, we can do so today. I've got the shad in there from our bait session in this kayak where I was throwing the net. I've had some bad luck lately with nets, y'all. I lost a net in Louisiana, threw right over a stump, I guess. Couldn't get the damn thing out. I had to go buy a new net down there in Louisiana. Well, I'm out there throwing for shad, and I'll be damned if I don't get the new net snagged. And I couldn't get it out, so I had to cut it too. So now I'm out of cast nets. I'm gonna have to go buy another cast net. Thankfully, I do have some shad in there. I'd taken the shad, well, the shad I got ain't very, it's mostly threadfin. We can put multiple threadfin on the hook and make a larger bait, but it's not the best quality bait. Ideally, I'd like for us to have something else. And I'd like to have something else other than bluegill. I'd like to have some skipjack, some white bass, crappie, something. So hopefully we stumble across something out here today that's other than the bluegill. But I do want to keep them bluegill alive so we can have either some live bait options, or if we want to cut those bluegill on the next catfish trip, they'll be super fresh when we cut them. If I'm going to use bluegill for bait, I want them either to be alive or super fresh. This one here, he says he's fresh. This bass fisherman goes by. Bluegill, he says he's so fresh they call him Minnows, the fresh maker. Bluegill's got bad jokes, don't he? Throw this over there by that tree, see what we can get. I bet we get something. There have been so many fish just all over this shoreline. I mean, it's just amazing how many fish we've caught today. This has been one of the more productive trips for Ultralight. But see, like right now, we're getting hit with this boat wake. And it's, well, that's not a good example. I was trying to talk about the whole slap on this thing, but that's not really a good example. The ocean will be the real test. That'll be the real test of how loud this kayak is, if it's just unbearable. I don't think it's going to be. I really think those videos online, just the position of the camera, the fact they're using the regular microphone, I think that amplifies things. I don't think it's going to be as bad as what it seems like on the videos, but it is for sure going to be louder than a normal kayak because of the Here, I can do this. Watch this. Hear my fingernails? It's got a different sound to it. It's a different type of plastic than your typical roto-molded plastic. The roto-molded plastic is it's a durable plastic, but it seems like it's just got a different texture to it, a different feel, and it's just quieter. So I don't know that the fish care necessarily, but I care personally. It'll drive me insane if it's too loud. But I think I'm going to like this kayak, though. I really do. The portability of it, I mean, when we hook a big fish in this thing, and we're going to hook some big fish, especially down there in the ocean, because this thing is so lightweight and there's virtually no resistance on top of the water. I mean, like, you know, I'd throw the cast net and I'd be pulling the net in, and I'm pulling the kayak toward where I just threw, because it just scoots across the water. Like when we hook into a big fish, buddy, we're going on a true sleigh ride. Like it is going to take us. It is going to tow, and at 47 pounds here, we hook into a big shark, like there's no slowing that shark down. We're just going to be a minor inconvenience for him. So it's going to be a good time. We're going to have some fun in this thing. And I guarantee you, if I could hook a big catfish in this thing, it's going to tow us around and be a good time also. But I need a way to better secure rod holders to it. There's also not a good way to anchor in this kayak because you can't drill into the hull. You can't really mount an anchor trolley on it because you can't drill in. And there's no good place to tie off to it to just drop an anchor down. I mean, I guess you could probably do the seat maybe. So I don't know how you'd anchor. Now it does in the back. Oh, you probably couldn't see there when I showed you the cooler situation because the cooler's probably blocking it. There is a power pole spot, like a micro power pole, And you know, I have those for my carp trips on my other kayak. So I had an extra base that the power pole anchors go into. And so I went ahead and mounted that base on here just in case I did decide to try out the power pole. But if we use the power pole, we got to be anchored down in shallow water. I mean, it needs to be, my anchor sticks are, I think they're 8 or 8.5 foot. So, I mean, it's got to be, we really need to be about 6 feet or less when you figure in the distance your poles have to go down into the mud, and then also the distance that the pole sets on the anchor, the power pole anchor itself. You lose some of that 8 foot with that. So for shallow water, that's a good system for anchoring down. And I'll tell you this is another thing that I thought about having this kayak for. There are some creeks that are difficult for me to get to because of the distance, how far away they are from a launch. But with this thing, because it's so lightweight, I think I can launch way back up in the shallows, way back up in the creeks, and work my way out to the deeper parts and maybe access some water that I don't have access to otherwise. I think the portability of this thing is going to allow me to hit some places that maybe I couldn't otherwise get to. And with the Carp, just as an example, I'm using really light drag. When the Carp hit, you know, I turn my drag way down so that they don't rip that hook out when they make that initial surge. So I don't have to worry about necessarily gear track rod holders in that situation because they're not going to get ripped out. It's really the only bad thing about this kayak is just strictly for catfishing purposes, not being able to securely mount rod holders like I would like to do. Can't bolt them into the hole like I would really want to do. Now, one of my channel members, Cody, had said, well, Justin, why don't you just run a 2x4 from gear track to gear track and put your rod holders on the 2x4, which I've done that in the past on a couple other kayaks. I did that on my Old Town Autopilot that I had once upon a time. I did that on my Native Ultimate kayak that I had years ago. And that's a secure way of doing it, but it's not really a good thing to do on this kayak, I don't think. Because if I run a 2x4 across here, it's going to be right there where I stand. It's going to be in my way. So I was thinking about maybe doing something similar to that, but mounting it to my seat. Use like C-clamps or, not C-clamps, U-bolts, that's what I'm trying to do. Use U-bolts to attach a 2x4 or something but on these seat rails and then mount the rod holders to that potentially. That's a possibility. So we got options. It's just going to take me getting in this kayak, spending some seat time in it, coming out here messing around, figuring out what's going to be in my way, what isn't. So far, today, casting this jig, these rod holders I've set up here, even though they're temporary, they've not been in the way at all. Now, we'll see when I go to get out today, are they going to be in my way when I go to step out of the kayak? Possibly. I didn't really notice them being in my way when I got in, but we'll see when I go to get out. But those are the kind of things you have to consider when you get a new kayak. It's just, where are you going to put stuff that it's going to be functional for you? So we got another one on here. It needs to be functional. It needs to be easily accessible from the seated position of whatever kayak you're in, but it also needs to be not in your way. And you can't just buy a kayak off the showroom floor, go home and mount stuff and know. You've got to get out on the water, take some fishing poles out there, do some casting, figure out where stuff's going to go and where it ain't. I know a lot of people do that with their graph. That's the thing I've heard a lot through the years is they mount their fish finder on and then they get out on the water and it's in the way because you take me, for instance, I'm left-handed, so normally when I'm casting, I'm going from the left side across to the right. Well, if I got a graph over here on my left, it can tend to get in the way. Normally, I would want the graph either on the right side or way far in front of me where it's not going to interfere. Well, if it's your first kayak, because we got another fish on here, you may not necessarily be thinking about little stuff like that. So again, it's just one of those things. Get some seat time in a kayak before you start permanently mounting. I don't think I'm going to put any graph on this one though. I just want to keep it, I want to keep it bare minimum. I know adding that Texas Power Paddle motor, which the motor, it only weighs a few pounds. Like it's really lightweight. That's not going to be a big deal, but I really want to keep this thing bare minimum, simple as possible. And just try to keep it lightweight. You can take any kayak, you start piling accessories on it, fish finders, batteries, motors, your cooler, a bunch of fishing tackle, live wells. Hell, before you know it, the thing weighs 300 pounds. So this kayak, if I'm ultralight fishing, I'm gonna have my ultralight rod and maybe 1 or 2 bait rods, right? If I'm going out there in the ocean, I'm gonna have a shark rod and a bait rod. If I go carp fishing, I'm gonna have a couple carp rods. Like I'm just not gonna be carrying a lot of gear. And I think what I wanna do is I'm gonna take this cooler, because this cooler, it fits this kayak pretty well. I already have the rod holders mounted to it on that cooler, so that's already done. And since it fits that tank well area pretty good, I think I'm just gonna mount some other stuff to the cooler. Since I don't have any internal storage in the kayak, I need a place to keep like a tackle box. Basic tackle, and I don't care a lot, but just something. Maybe extra carp rigs or extra shark rigs or whatever it is I'm fishing for. I need a place to store that that's not gonna fall off the kayak or get washed off if I'm going through the surf or something. So I was thinking about mounting like a couple. I've got from my Hobie Pro Angler kayak, there's a little, some of y'all have probably seen this or know what I'm talking about, but right under your feet, in front of the seat there is that little storage area. And I've got a little drop-in box that goes in there. Right now, that's what I keep my stuff in, that little drop-in box. But when the kayak comes from the factory, it doesn't have that box. That's extra. What's actually in that is you open that lid and it's got like a little box holder for 3600 size Plano boxes. It'll hold 2 of them. And I've still got that piece that I never use. And I thought, I might could mount that on that cooler, and that would store 2 Plano boxes. So that would allow me, I could use one, keep my tools in there, pliers and scissors and glove, stuff like that, and then have another one there for whatever tackle I was going to be using for the day. And I could maybe mount it, just drill into the lid of the cooler or the front side, something like that, and put that on there. And then I thought maybe I'd put a cup holder on the side to store my Gulp on there. And that way too, when I go to load up at the end of the day, everything, I would take out that cooler and everything's on it. Like I wouldn't be, it would save me a lot of time. Because today, when I unload today, I've got the live bait bucket, we've got my net, we've got my measuring board, which I got under the seat, the cooler. You know, there's just more stuff I have to take off today, but in the future, once I get everything dialed in, it'd be nice to only take one thing off the kayak. So we'll see. It's a work in progress. We'll get everything figured out over the course of a few trips. I'm going to be fishing in this kayak a few more times before I take it to the ocean. I want to get fully comfortable in it, figure out what I can and can't do in this thing before I take it out in the ocean. Because I'm not experienced at all in the ocean. I've been down there, what, the last 3 years? So, I mean, technically I've been in the ocean. I've caught some big fish. Hell, I've caught sharks, bull sharks, hammerhead. Got that big sailfish in a kayak there a few years ago. Like I've done it, but I've not done it so much that I feel like I'm an expert, that I feel like I'm super competent, you know. I don't fully trust myself yet. So to go out there in a kayak that I'm not 100% familiar with, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. So I definitely want to get some more seat time in this thing. I want to take this thing out on some, I want to take it out, even if I don't fish, whenever we have a windy day again, like really windy, real choppy, I want to take this kayak out then, because that's going to be more, when you get out there in the ocean, the wind's always blowing. And you work around them bridges with the tide, the current and stuff, like, I want to be prepared. Now, I will say this, here's another selling point of this kayak, at least selling point for me anyway, for wanting it. Maneuverability. This thing will turn on a dime, man. In fact, most of y'all don't care about this, but I'm going to turn this thing right now, just so you can see. Let's pick out. We're right here in front of this green leafy tree, and in between these cedar trees right here. I'm going to turn this rudder and we're going to pedal. I want you to watch how tight a circle we will turn in right here. When you get moving like this, I'm just moving my feet real quickly here to kind of, that'll help you turn quicker. We can damn near turn in a 360 in place. We're literally in place right here where we started. This thing is so maneuverable. And the fishing out here like we're doing today, not a big deal. It don't have to be super maneuverable. But in the last couple years, when I've went down there to the Keys and I'm fighting the wind and I'm fighting the current and I'm around those bridge pilings, the maneuverability does come into play. Like it's more important in that situation. And my Old Town kayak, my pedal kayak there, I love that kayak. It's probably my favorite kayak that I've ever had. But one of its downfalls is it's not really, I wouldn't even say it's a downfall of that kayak, because it's not really designed to be that way. But it's not maneuverable in tight situations. I mean, it's over 2 foot longer than this one. It sets down in the water. That kayak's built more for rougher water, surf launches, open water type fishing. It's not designed to fish in tight situations where you're going to need to be more nimble and have more maneuverability. It's just not designed for that, and therefore it's not really very good at it. And so that's one of the things I've struggled with the last couple of years down there, is getting around them bridge pilings and hooking a fish, or having the wind blow you a little bit, and the next thing you know, you have a hard time getting turned around and getting back where you need to be, getting positioned right. I think this kayak, because it can just turn 360 damn near in place, I think it's going to be a lot better in that situation. Here's a fish. It's coming out after us, buddy. What is this? I don't know what this is. Is this another bass? Boy, he is headed straight out, ain't he? All right, we got something out here, folks. I don't know what, if it's a bluegill, it's a doozy. He's not come up yet. I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is. Y'all wave at Bass Boat Man. He's going too fast to see it too. We just look like a blur as he goes by. What is this? He'd come up, I still couldn't tell. With the glare. Oh, looky here, we're definitely keeping this one. We are definitely keeping this one, folks. That's some bait right there. White bass. Yes. He is too big to keep alive in the bucket, but he will be perfect to use for catfish bait. Yes. Yes, sirree, Bob. Stick him in the cooler there, folks. I knew right away. I was like, that right there is a little bigger than a bluegill. And a damn good time on the ultralight, man. I can't tell you how much fun it is to catch fish like that on the ultralight. Let's get us another gulp there. That one's tore up. Man, that's fun, y'all. I hope there's some more over there too, because I would love to get a cooler full of them things. So finally starting to see a glimmer of the sun. It's finally getting high enough to get over here. I'm underdressed out here today, folks. I got boots on, but I'm underdressed. I should have wore the hoodie out here, because I'm still a little chilly. That sun will feel good when it eventually gets on us. Yeah, let's go back over here and see if we've got a few more white bass potentially. Nice, folks. We're getting something today, by gosh. Between the bluegill that we've kept, that white bass, like we're not walking out of here empty-handed today, as far as the bait goes. I'd still love to find some crappie down through here. I got on some crappie before I left to go to Louisiana. I mean, I got on some slabs. Not here, I was on Melton Hill. But I mean, I was getting them about every cast, and I ended up turning them crappie into some, I got a monster catfish. My last catfish trip before I went down there. Monster on a crappie head. And so I would love to get us some more crappie if possible, but I don't know if we'll find any out here today or not. But anytime you're throwing a gulp, or any small plastic, you've certainly got an opportunity to catch them. You just got to get it in front of them. But we haven't seen anything busting out here today. I mean, there's been no surface activity at all, at least that I've seen anyway. But there has been a ton of fish activity. I mean, these things are absolutely just, I mean, how many fish have we caught now? It has been a very productive day, numbers-wise. The bluegill we've gotten have not been the greatest quality overall. I don't think we've got any that's even been close to 8 inches. I mean, I got our little measuring board here just in case we come across something that's worthy of being measured, but I think even the fatter bluegill we've got have been kind of short. I'd say probably 7-inch range would be my guess on our biggest bluegill, if I was guessing. That big smallmouth we hooked was way over that, though. That thing was a good one. He was a few pounds. But yeah, man, I'm really happy with how today has gone. I've enjoyed it. I hope y'all have. Just beating the banks. No fish finder, no live scope, none of that. Just out here, we're just throwing, man. It's one of the beauties of this ultralight fishing. If you go fishing and you don't care what it is that you're going to catch, if you just want to go catch fish, then you really don't necessarily, you don't need a graph. Because, I mean, listen, if we were specifically trying to target crappie, well, boy, that live scope sure would be helpful, wouldn't it? We could just scan our way down through here and look for a tree or some brush pile or something that would stack with fish. Very helpful for that. But when I don't care what we catch. I mean, it'd be nice if we caught some crappie. But I really don't, I just want to get bites. I just want to get action. And so we can do that without having any kind of graph and the hassle of live scope and all that. I just, even though I complicate the hell out of everything in life, I appreciate things that are simple. And ultralight fishing is one of those things that I have managed to somehow keep pretty simple. I use the same rod for the last 8 or 10 years, the same lure for the last 8 or 10 years. Like it's, you know, I've somehow or another, even though I complicate everything else in my life, I've managed to keep this setup simple. And I appreciate that. I appreciate things that are simple. I don't know why I have to complicate everything, but I do. I mean, hell, look at this next kayak I'm building, the Bonafide. I'm going to have that kayak. I mean, that kayak is going to be 170 pounds before we add the first damn thing to it. Then I've already bought a motor for it. This white bass goes crazy in the cooler behind it. 36 volt motor, 36 volt battery. I mean, it's damn near embarrassing is what it is. It's sad that that's what kayak fishing has come to. To me, like what we're in here today, now granted this is more of a paddleboard style, not so much a kayak as it is paddleboard with a seat. But the simplicity of it is what kayak fishing is supposed to be about, in my opinion. Human powered, just basic setup. And man, I tell you, you go to these kayak catfishing tournaments, that one in Louisiana, I took my Old Town pedal kayak to it just for access purposes, which didn't work out because none of the places I thought I could access, I couldn't actually access them. They were private property. But man, everybody down there, you go fishing any of these tournaments, man, you're going up against guys in huge kayaks that are really kind of plastic boats at this point. Everybody's got a motor. Most people's got at least 24 volt motors now. Rod racks, they're fishing 8 and 10 rods. Like it's just gotten away. The kayak fishing has gotten away from, I won't say it's gotten away from its roots, because I mean, hell, I mean, this got pedals. This ain't traditional kayak right here. I mean, a traditional kayak was carved out of a wooden log and was paddled. So any pedal kayak, human powered as they like to call it, is still not traditional kayak. So it's hard to say all this new stuff that's coming out has gotten away from its roots without sounding hypocritical, because I've already gotten away from the roots when I'm using pedals. But everything's just so, man, it's just, the kayak catfishing tournaments are like mini boat tournaments at this point. And that's not, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, if you're having fun, that's the most important thing. If you enjoy what you're doing, you're having fun. Even if you do consider the kayaks nowadays mini boats, well, it's still a lot cheaper than buying a Sea Arc 24-foot long with 300 horse motor on it. I mean, on top of this bona fide kayak that I'm going to build out is going to be, oh, here's a fish. This is another good one right here, man. I don't know what this is. This is another big fish. I don't know. This might be a cat. I think this is a catfish. The fight of him, it feels like he's rolling a little bit. I'm gonna try to spit him out here, get him away from the bank a little. Oh, come on, fish, don't go that way. Don't go up under me. One thing nice about the Hobie pedal system, when you got a fish under you, like working up this way, you can push your feet forward and push them fins up under the kayak so they're flush. The bicycle style, it's down there in place, it just is where it is. So fish can get wrapped up in your, and I've had that happen before, fish get wrapped up in my prop. That won't happen here with the Hobie. So even though my body rejects this pedaling motion, it does have its perks as far as the drive itself goes. Yeah, that's the channel cat. The dreaded channel cat, folks. Some of y'all love them. Me, not so much. I'm pretty sure them sail cats down there in the ocean, they gotta be kin to the channel cat, because I caught a million of them. They were down there stripping my hooks clean too. My final day in Louisiana. I didn't end up filming my final day down there. I filmed the tournament. I went out the next day, filmed a session, or tried to film a session back in Venice, and I kept getting all them sail cats. Man, I couldn't keep a line in the water. It was sail cat after sail cat. I finally got frustrated with it and just quit filming. Caught a few more, ended up catching one small shark. It was a tiny shark, smaller than this daggone channel cat. There we go. Yeah, that shark I caught there on the last day in Louisiana, it was smaller than this. Like, I don't even know how it got the bait in its mouth. This channel cat here, though, I wish he hadn't have got our bait in the mouth, because he's probably got our line all slimed up. I bet you I'm gonna bend my hook trying to get it out of his mouth too, because this catfish, the hide on these catfish is real tough. I'm gonna bend that hook getting it out. There we go. Dadgummit. You old channel cat, this bait ain't for you, good buddy. There he is in all his glory. Get on out of here. Let's take a look, see how bad we've messed up our hook here. See if we can bend it back out, or well, we're gonna have to switch out our Gulp for sure. Oh yeah, look at that. Look what I done to that hook. Yeah, we gotta, let's tie on another one here, folks. Danged old channel cat. You see why I don't like these channel cats? Y'all always defend them, but between them stripping my hooks clean when I'm catfishing and messing up our jigs when I'm trying to ultralight fish here, I got a beef with these daggone things, man. I got good reason to not like these things. I'm actually going to cut this a little higher up. The line's a little abraded right there. Yeah, another jig head. Don't know where that come from. See if I can see to need my reading glasses. The Loys, longtime channel members, they got me some reading glasses, and I've got them in my other kayak to help me see to thread the line through these small jig heads, and I don't have them with me. They're in my Old Town kayak. I would say though, of all the kayaks I've had, my Old Town is probably my favorite to this point. But who knows, if I can end up finding a way to rig an anchor to this one, this kayak's definitely got potential. Got to give it a little time though. Anytime you get something new, there's a honeymoon period. Everything's great, and then you figure out all the things you don't like about something. Depending on the situation, it will determine how long it takes to get through the honeymoon period. You take a job, for instance. Let's say you start a new job. Usually, it takes about 30 to 90 days, right? You go in on day one, you're like, oh, this is great, it's new, all my coworkers are so amazing. 30 to 90 days later, you're like, this place sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it's awful. You start dating a new girl. First 2 or 3 times you go out with her, a lot of physical attraction there, hormones running. You know, the lust causes you to maybe overlook some things, personality flaws that maybe you don't like about her. But after 30 to 90 days of dating this new girl, when some of the hormones have died down a little bit, then you start to realize all the things you hate about her. And so it'll be the same way in this kayak. Right now, everything's great, but give me a few more trips in it. Let me figure out some things I don't like about it. And then we'll see how excited I am over it. That's how it always goes. Everything's great on day one. That's how it always is. Most of the time, you don't realize a girl's crazy on the first date. She got to be super crazy if you notice on the first date. And if she is that crazy, she's probably hot as hell, and you still ain't going to notice. Back up here a little bit and get spun back around. We seem to be catching, we just got that channel cat, of course. But we seem to be getting less fish through here than what we were getting on down there. Like, we'd went a few casts there without getting bit before the channel cat come along. I'm not opposed to turning around and going back down where we were getting all them others. I've been hearing something up here in front of us. I don't know if it sounds like a human outside working on something. So I'm not too keen on. You won't have to twist my arm to turn around and go back the way we came to catch even more fish and not have to deal with any more humans. I don't want to. I've got to go. I got an appointment this afternoon, so I got to deal with appointments that I don't want to deal with this afternoon for sure. It's funny when Chris Scroggins come up to me there at the boat ramp. I saw him come before he introduced himself. Part of me was cringing, like, oh my God, here comes a human. Then he told me who he was. I recognized his name instantly from being a channel member. I had never met him in person before, though. I just interacted with him there on YouTube comment box. But once he introduced himself, I'm like, okay, this is a normal human being here. This ain't some just random person coming up and talking to me at a boat ramp, because I just don't like boat ramp conversation. When some stranger comes up and they're just like, well, what you fishing for there? Or, what's the bass biting? Or pick your random conversation. I don't like chit chat. I like good conversation with, and I know I'm sounding hypocritical here because I've had random chit chat all morning long with you through this video. But like actual person to person, human to human conversation, I like it if there's substance there, if it's somebody who I'm interested in and I want to know what they're talking about. That's great. But just random chit chat, talking about the weather, I can't. I mean, I'm so repulsed by it. I can't even think about anything off the top of my head right now. But I think you understand what I'm trying to get at. Like, I just hate random boat ramp conversation with strangers. I just don't like it. Now, in this situation, like with Chris, somebody that I didn't know him before this other than a screen name, but I mean, he clearly watches my channel and knows me a little bit. That's one thing. But when it's somebody just completely random, you just happen to be at the boat ramp at the same time, and you're forced to have that awkward conversation. Well, the weather sure is nice today. Yeah, it's a good day to be on the water. You know, how about our Vols Saturday night beating Alabama? And go Vols, by the way. All you people watch my channel from Alabama. Y'all been boasting for years. Y'all think it's God's gift because you've had the greatest football coach of all time, Nick Saban. Now, all of a sudden, you ain't got him no more. Well, Alabama they've lost their luster a little bit, haven't they? Just not quite as good anymore without old Saban. And you got beat. Listen, Tennessee, that wasn't a pretty game. When we played Alabama, man, that was not a pretty game at all. Our offense stunk it up the first half. But still, Alabama couldn't do nothing with us. I think Alabama's dynasty is over for a while. This coach may be, Caleb, he may be good. He may turn out to be a fine coach. But he's not Nick Saban. Now, I don't like Nick Saban. I mean, he's been sticking it to Tennessee forever, it feels like. But I have to admit, being a Tennessee fan, I have to admit, Nick Saban's the greatest college football coach of all time. And so I don't care who you get to replace him, there's going to be a drop. You can't go from the best of all time to the next best of all time. It just don't work that way. So I think Alabama's going to have they'll still be competitive. They'll still be relevant. I don't know if they'll make the playoff this year, but in future years, they're going to be in playoff contention. But I don't think they're going to be dominant, a dynasty like they were for a long period of time under Saban. I think those days are over. Sorry, Alabama fans. But it's just, I'm speaking some facts here for you. It's over. Get used to being just mediocre to above average in that range again. Alabama likes to say roll tide, but the fact is the tide got rolled in Knoxville the other night. Boy, it was nice too. That's the kind of game that Tennessee has found a way to lose for so many years. So for them to find a way to win, it's a different culture now, man. It's a different culture, it's a different time. We're about to take a time here and go back the way we came. We're not catching nothing down through here now. Well, I say that and then we get bit. and there he went too. Pop free. We ain't been getting nothing down through here. It seems like all the action was on them rocks. Now that the landscape's kind of changed a little bit here. It's like they were on the steep rocks. It gets a little bit shallower here, shallower grade. Again, I don't have to graph to tell you the exact depth, but I know just from history, it's shallower over here and deeper on them rocks, although we got another fish right here. Well, he unhooked himself and is going to find his way to the pedal drive slot. You know what, fish? You're about to go out that way. Get on. There you go. So here's what I was talking about earlier. If you're not familiar with a Hobie pedal drive, it's got the fins versus the propeller, like the bicycle style. So when you push your legs forward, see how them fins flare out? You can bring them right up under the bottom of the kayak. So if you've got a fish running directly under you, you can push them forward and not have to worry about them getting wrapped up there in your fins. Whereas with your pedal drive that's a bicycle style, it's fixed down there. You can't do that. So you just, if it gets in your drive, it gets in your drive. There's nothing you can do about it. So that's one of the perks of it. I mean, there's pros and cons with both systems. The bicycle style, the pros of it are, just for me personally, it's more comfortable. I feel way more comfortable pedaling the bicycle style than I do this. The other big thing with the bicycle style is so we got another fish. Back on some here now. The instant reverse. If you need to back up, you just pedal backwards. Whereas this Hobie, you've got to get down here and pull that cord. So that's another one of those things that's kind of a definite pro, a definite positive of the bicycle style. But either way, I mean, it's just a matter of, I can't tell you which is going to be better for you. I can't tell you which you're going to prefer. You're going to just have to get in them and try them out. And that's where having the demo days was so helpful when these companies offered them, when these dealers offered them, because then you could go to a dealer that had both Hobie and Old Town or Native, the bicycle style pedal drive manufacturers. You could try them both out on the same day, the same time, and figure out which one do you feel better in, which one feels more comfortable to you, which style better suits your needs. You could try them both out for free and make an educated decision before you buy. And it's a damn shame they've gotten away from that. It's just, and I think the reason behind it is, I can't prove this obviously, but I think there's probably a thought that, well, if we need to sell more kayaks, it's in our best interest to sell kayaks without letting people try them. Because if a person gets the kayak that's best suited for their needs the first time, it's going to be a few years before they come back to buy their next one. Whereas if you go in there and you can't try it out, you buy the one you think you want, you get on the water, it don't work out for you, maybe you don't like it, not comfortable, whatever, you end up selling it. You're going to take a loss personally, but then you're going to go buy another kayak, probably from that same dealer if there's only one in town. So you end up buying another one from them. And so they end up getting more sales that way is probably what they're thinking. But like I said, in this situation, it cost them a sale with me because I would have bought a new one had I had the opportunity to try it out and make sure I was going to like it. But I just wasn't comfortable doing that. In a kayak like this, it's so much different than any of the others I've been in before. Like I just wasn't. That's what's kept me from getting one up to this point, because I haven't been able to try it out. But when I saw that deal on Marketplace, and I'm like, man, I can save $1,400 off of a new one, and this thing is practically new. I mean, there was 0 marks on the bottom of this thing. And the guy said they'd used it twice on like a sandy situation, which, and who knows? You never know if people are being truthful with you or not, but I have no reason to think he was lying to me, because, I mean, the bottom of the hole was perfect. And so it's like, if I can get a practically new kayak for $1,400 less than the new one, I mean, hell, that pays for the motor and accessories I bought. Almost, anyway. So, yeah. Costs the dealers a sale because they don't do demo days. I don't know. I mean, maybe there's more to it than that. Maybe. I mean, at the end of the year, usually these companies that would used to do demo days, they would sell their. We got another one. Finally getting back on some more fish over here. They would sell their demo kayaks at a discount. Obviously, they can't sell them as new after they've been used on demo days throughout the spring and summer months. But I don't know the markup on these kayaks, but I would have to believe you could probably take 10 or 20% off for a demo kayak and probably still break even or turn a profit. I don't think they're going to go out of business from selling a demo kayak, from having a demo model. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in that business. I don't know for sure, but I don't understand. It's one of them things, like it used to be commonplace, and it just disappeared with COVID, and it never came back. Just like Amazon's. Remember when, I don't know how many of y'all out there had Amazon Prime membership. I did. I still do, because I needed to watch football on Thursday nights. But what's going on here with my rod? My line was around my reel. I'm like, this ain't reeling right. But I mean, I still have it so I can watch football on Thursday nights. And I order quite a bit on their site anyway to take advantage of the free shipping. But one of the perks years ago was the incredibly fast shipping. If you ordered something, it was next day you would have it, 2 days at the most. And they were bragging about it. That was like Amazon's thing, like it was the fastest shipping. If you lived in a big city somewhere, you could get it same day. Well, then COVID happens, and they made that announcement that they were prioritizing essential items there, shipping essential items over everything else for a while, which is totally understandable, especially when people couldn't get basic supplies and stuff. So totally understandable that they would do that. But, oh man, this thing's got it deep too. Boy, you bluegill love these Gulp, buddy. You're choking them things. There we go. But yeah, like after it's over and the rest of the world has gotten back to normal, Amazon's shipping did not get back to normal. I'm trying to think what I ordered from them last, but it took a week to get to me. A week. Used to, you'd have it within a day or two. Now, it takes 2 or 3 days for them to ship it out of their warehouse. Like it's one of those things. It just disappeared. I don't know why they got away from it. They just don't do it anymore. So I don't get it. I don't know. I don't understand. There's things in life I don't understand. I don't understand why you all just got hung and whatever you got hung in over here. And this one's definitely a snag and not a fish like like the last time. This ain't a big smallmouth here. God, I was so stupid with that. I was trying to shake it free out of that smallmouth. I had no idea it was a damn smallmouth bass until it took off. That's why, I guarantee that's why we ended up losing that fish, because of my lousy hook set. I see this one down there. Let's see if we can get it on that branch right there. There it comes. All right. I do think I want to work us back, y'all. I want to go back down here along these rocks. I'm going to skip this area that we wasn't doing as good, and then kind of work our way back. So I'm not going to fish too terribly. How long have we been at this here? Hell, we've been at this 3 hours, over 3 hours. I'm going to probably fish my way back to where we started and probably call it a day after that, because I got the appointment this afternoon, so I gotta go home and shower and everything for that. And then of course we got a late start out here this morning anyway, because of I just didn't want to be out here at the ass crack of dawn with it being so cold and foggy and everything. And I'm still cold right now. It's warmed up. We're gonna go down here just a little bit more before we start making our way back casting. It's warmed up a little bit, but I'm still cold. I had my hoodie on, I took it off. I was at the house like, do I need to put my bibs on today? I don't want to wear my bibs, because then it's just more, the more layers you have, the more difficult it is to pedal. Y'all know how that is. You don't want to wear layers either. I don't want to be cold, but I don't want to have a bunch of layers on. And then I knew, like, by the time I was going to be leaving today, it was going to be warm. And so then if I've got a bunch of layers on, I'm going to be hot. We're just kind of in between right now. Got to enjoy the last bit of warm weather we got, though, because winter is coming, folks. I think that's that boat that went by a little while ago. He went up the clinch there, didn't catch a damn thing. Here he comes again. I'm always amazed that anytime you talk to these bass fishermen, they completely disregard every other fish species. Like when I went down to Georgia and I bought this kayak off that fella, he was a bass fisherman. He had a bass boat and he had other Hobie links. He bass fished. Yeah, we chit-chatted a little bit, and he asked what I fish for and where and stuff. I was like, mostly catfish. And like, yeah, I throw them catfish back. I was like, I can't stand catfish. Like, yeah, I know, but like with the bass fishermen, they're just, it's all bass. And if it's not a bass, they don't want it. They don't care. Like they just can't stand it. And I'm like, bass aren't, I know they're kind of the sport fish, right? Like they're the chosen ones. And I would have loved to have landed that smallmouth that we had hooked up with earlier. I mean, that was a big fish. It was a hard pulling fish. But I mean, when you talk about pound for pound fish fights, like I definitely wouldn't, smallmouth certainly fight harder than largemouth, but I wouldn't put largemouth bass, which is what everybody around here fishes for, pound for pound, I wouldn't put them gosh, I don't know, top 5? Not even top 5. I mean, let me think about the fish that we have here locally that fights harder. Striped bass, obviously, they're probably the hardest fighting fish we have here where I live. Flatheads, probably up there, second hardest fighting fish. A blue cat is going to fight harder than a largemouth bass. White bass fight harder than largemouth. Yellow bass don't get very big, but I mean, pound for pound, if you have a comparable size largemouth to a comparable size yellow bass, the yellow bass is going to fight harder. I honestly, I mean, it's hard to judge this because of the size difference, but bluegill are an incredibly hard fighting fish for their size. Very underappreciated. They don't get the respect they deserve. I mean, it's hard to compare it when you're catching 6-inch bluegill like we are today. But when you go somewhere, like when I go to Florida here soon, and I get down there in Lake Ida and I'm catching them copper-nosed bluegill that are all over 10 inches. Buddy, though, I mean, and they're thick too. Like, it's easy to compare those to a 1-pound copper-nosed bluegill to a 1-pound largemouth. Like, you can tell it's not close. So they're just, channel cats certainly fight way harder. I mean, just from the aspect of how hard a fish fights, I don't understand the appeal of Florida. The only thing I can think of is that so many fishermen, and I honestly believe this is true. I don't know if they realize it's true, but here's what I think is true. They like collecting fishing tackle more than they like fishing. To them, to bass fishermen, it's all about buying the new lures, the new worm with a split ribbon tail that comes in 47 different colors, and you can only catch fish on this new shade of purple that's different than all the other 57 shades of purple. Like, I think they get really into that stuff, and I think that's more fun to them than actually going out and fishing. I think riding around the bass boats at 70 miles an hour is more fun to them than actually fishing, because that's what you see. How often, and you've seen this on my videos, but you see it in your own life, I guarantee it. You're on the water, some bass boat comes through, 70 miles an hour, he pulls up, he makes 5 casts over here, and then he's back on the motor, 70 miles an hour in the next spot. They spend most of their day just riding around. And so I guess because bass are dumb, they're a dumb fish that'll eat a million different lures. And I've had bass fishermen argue with me on this. They'll say, oh, bass aren't dumb. Like, it takes skill to catch bass. We got to use artificial lures, and you got to. I'm like, no, you don't. Bass will eat anything. They're so stupid that's why you can catch them on 86 different lures that they sell at Bass Pro Shop, and 112 different shades of color. Like, they're dumb. That's how you can get a bass to eat so many different things, because they're dumb. They don't realize that 112 lures aren't real. Like, most fish aren't going to eat that many different lures. So, I don't know. But largemouth bass don't fight particularly hard compared to other species. Around here, they don't get particularly big. I mean, even if you like trophy bass, you're not going to catch any of them here where I live. I mean, sure, there's going to be a few 7-8 pounders caught throughout the year here, but not many. You got to go down to Chickamauga to get one even that size somewhat consistently. And we don't have any of like Florida, Texas, California size bass. You're not going to get those here in Tennessee. So I just don't understand it. I don't get the appeal. And when I got into fishing, I didn't grow up fishing from birth on or nothing. I got into it in my teenage years. I was into bass fishing in the beginning because, I mean, I'd watched Bill Dance on TV and Roland Martin and Hank Parker. I'd watched the TV shows, and everybody around here, everybody, bass fishing's what you done. It was a cultural thing, and that's what I started out when I was fishing. I was into bass fishing. It took some time for me to kind of break out of it. So I think a lot of people, you do it because it's what everybody else does, and you never question. It's a cultural thing, kind of like carp. Carp is another prime example of a cultural thing. Here, where I live, carp are considered a trash fish. They get no respect here. That's another fish fights way harder than a bass. One of the hardest fighting fish that we have around here. The carp's definitely top 3, top 5 hardest fighting fish we have here in East Tennessee. No respect, but it's a cultural thing. Now you go somewhere else, other parts of the country, that carp are the primary sport fish. There's a lot of places in the world that carp are treated with the same respect that largemouth bass get treated with around here. And it's different, but the culture's different in those places. So it's weird to me. It's weird to me how things come about. Like, how did it become so mainstream to go bass fishing, but not anything else? And I guess it's just marketing, really. Because a bass will eat 85 different lures, that's 85 different opportunities to sell. Well, way more than that, because them 85 lures are going to come in a bunch of different colors and then a bunch of different sizes. So from a marketing standpoint, it's better for fishing companies to have people into bass fishing than it is for people to be into catfishing, where, I mean, let's be real, the tackle's pretty simple. You need some hooks and sinkers. The baits you're going to be using, you're going to be catching. So, well, okay, there we go. We had our line wrapped around that branch as we're reeling in the fish. Back on some fish down here now that we've got back down through here. I think we're going to catch them all the way back down through here too. And then if it is true that the only reason that bass are the most popular sport fish is because of good marketing, then doesn't that make bass fishermen who have fallen for the good marketing stupid? Because they only got into something because they were targeted by the companies and the advertising firms and whatnot. Because, I mean, that's all, I mean, really, growing up, me watching Bill Dance, Hank Parker, and all them, you don't realize it at the time, but seeing it now for what it was like, well, it was, and I'm not taking anything away from those guys. They were great, and they're very entertaining shows. I loved it growing up as a kid and teenager and whatnot. But they were kind of infomercials in a way for whatever lure company was sponsoring their video. And it's a different day and age now, because of I think it's FTC, federal, boy, I just cast it right through that damn tree. Boy, y'all done gone and done it. You done threw into another tree right here. There we go. Thankfully for you, I got it out. I think it's FTC, Federal Trade Commission. Now you have to disclose that companies are paying you, if they are paying you. Like for instance, let's say, like my turn, which should be my last video on my channel, tournament video, Daphne got a bicycle, right? She got a bicycle, electric bicycle, and we threw a segment on there at the end of that video. That was a terrible cast. I have to disclose that in the video. I have to click a button on YouTube that says, there's when you're uploading videos, there's a bunch of check boxes and stuff, and you have to click one that says, did you receive paid promotion this video? You click yes, and when you watch a video where somebody has checked that box, the first few seconds of the video, it comes up and says there's paid promotion in this video or whatever. To let you know as an audience that there's bias in this potentially, basically, that some company has paid to have their product featured in that video. Well, that didn't exist back in the day. At least to my knowledge, it didn't. So when you watched a TV show of Bill Dance or Hank Parker or whatever, they were clearly marketing. When you go back in time and you watch it now, like whatever crankbait or whatever was out at that time, the show was about that crankbait. That Strike King or whatever company had clearly paid to have their product featured on that show, but we, the audience, at least I didn't realize it at the time, being a teenager and whatnot, didn't realize that the company had paid just to have that video made of their crankbait. I thought, well, Bill Dance believes in this crankbait. Like, he's out there catching these fish on this crank. This is what I need. And so it's a different day and time now. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I was just dumb back in the day. That's possible. That's very possible. I was just naive to the ways of the world, I guess. But it's definitely easier if you're a fishing company. You've got a lot more possibilities, a lot more options of things to sell to the bass fishing community than you do for possibly some other types of fishing. But nowadays, these bass fishermen that are coming up now, you know you're being marketed to. Now it's like, if you know you're being marketed to, you can make an educated decision. Like this bluegill here, he had no idea that this gulp wasn't a real bait fish. Now, if he did know, and he could have made an option, and he still chose to eat it, then we could say that fish is pretty dumb. But he didn't know. There's no FTC down there in the bluegill world. So we throw that out there to them, and they just think, well, that's just a shad. They don't even know. Poor bluegill down there getting taken advantage of. Boy, we've caught a bunch. Here's another one too. They are all over. They're out from these rocks, man. They are just, we have caught so many fish today. I wonder, there's a fella fishing Key Largo that watches my ultralight videos. I don't know if he'll watch this one or not. He hasn't commented in a while. But boy, when he would watch in the past, he always tallied up the fish caught. He would calculate how many casts I made, how many fish caught, different species, how many jigs I lost, all that stuff. Like he was really into the videos for a while. He's gonna need a clicker today. If he's doing, he's gonna need one of them, what they're called, clickers? What are them things? I know some fishermen keep them in their boats, count the number of fish they caught. Usually the fishermen that have them in the boats, though, don't catch enough fish that they need a clicker for, so I don't know why they have them, but you've seen it, I'm sure. We could have probably used one today. I don't need no clicker because I'd never remember to hit the thing, and then we still wouldn't know. how many fish we got at the end of the day. We'd be like, well, we know we caught a certain number of fish, whatever we ended up with, but then how many did I forget to click? Or how many times would I click it and then make a few casts and then be like, well, did I click it? And then you click it again. So I don't need no clicker, that's for sure. But we've caught a bunch of fish today. It has been a very, very good day. I've had fun out here. This is what I want when I go ultralight fishing. Right, there's another one. This is the kind of action that I want. I want a variety of species, which we've gotten today. I mean, yeah, it's been, most of our action has certainly come from bluegill, sure. But we got a bass there, a small bass there to begin with. We hooked that big smallmouth, which we didn't land, so I don't guess we can catch that. We got the channel cat, we got the white bass. Like, we've got some variety today with the species, in addition to just the volume, the numbers of fish overall. So this is what I want, man. When I go ultralight fishing, this is the kind of day that I want to have. And it honestly, it doesn't get old to me. Like, catching fish like this, like, I could do this kind of fishing all the time. And it's just, because you just never know. There's always, it's like when we was down there in Louisiana. Me and Ryan was talking about this, that first video from the Louisiana trip. I can't get this dang thing. Give me that jig back, fish. There we go. But we were down there in Venice, and we was catching drum, and Ryan got alligator gar, and I got a stingray, and we're catching all these variety, and we're casting out there, and like, you just cast out. You have no idea what's about to bite your hook, about to bite your bait. Like, the anticipation of it, you just don't know. And that increases the fun of what you're doing, because you have no idea what's about to bite. You know something's about to bite, but you don't know what. And it's like that too, for me anyway, with ultralight fishing. Every time we make a cast, we have no idea what kind of fish we're about to drop this bait in front of. But I know we do this. We come out here and we do this a few hours, we're gonna drop this bait in front of a lot of fish. And we're gonna catch them. We're gonna get bit. And so it's that anticipation, in addition to just the fact that catching fish on ultralight tackle being fun, the anticipation of it just adds something to it. For me anyway. For me, I speak for myself here, but I think, man, if you give ultralight fishing, give it a chance, give it a shot, I think you'll love it. I think you'll have a great time. You're going to go out and catch a bunch of fish. You're not going to go out and get skunked doing this, as long as you're not throwing this on 8-pound line. I mean, get you 2-pound line, get the appropriate size jigs and hooks and all that, but you do that, you're gonna catch some fish. Not every day is gonna be like today. It's not always gonna work out like to catch as many fish as what we've gotten out here. Today's been a really good day for numbers. But even on bad days, you're gonna catch some fish. And you go for other types of species and larger tackle and things like that, you have a bad day, maybe you just get skunked. You go ultralight fishing with a small piece of plastic, minnow-like bait, you probably ain't getting, even if you don't catch many fish or you don't catch big fish, you're probably not getting skunked. I'm going to have to switch this Gulp out here in a minute. Just trying to get another fish or two on it here before we switch it out. That's a thing you can do with these Gulp. It don't matter if they're right side up or upside down. Fish don't care. Still looks like a dying shad either way. So when one side gets tore, you just turn it upside down and get a few more fish out of it. Where are we at on time? Oh, well, our battery's about dead here. We're in the red here, folks. I guess me and you, I'm gonna fish a little while longer. I may actually too, when I get down here to where we started, I may turn and go up the clinch and see if Chris is still, see if he's still fishing. Go visit with him some more. But yeah, I'm gonna fish. I'm probably gonna do another 30 minutes to an hour maybe. Get some more fish. You know, we'll have to part ways here because the battery's about to die. But yeah, I'm gonna fish a while longer, bust some more of these fish. I appreciate you coming with me today though. Taking a ride here on the new kayak. You'll be seeing more of this, especially as we get down in the salt water there on the beach trip. Come on, bluegill. You want to be the last one on the show? How about you be the last one on the video, since our battery's going to die soon anyway. We'll just close out the video portion of the day with a fish. I like to end with a fish whenever possible. There you go, bluegill. What a prestigious honor being the last fish on this video. But yeah, y'all, I mean, this kayak again, the new to me Hobie Lynx. I feel like I got a great deal on it. So far, I'm liking it. Smaller platform, lightweight. Gonna hopefully have some fun, man. I can tell you, we hook into a big shark on this thing, we're gonna get towed a long ways. This is gonna be like just a bobber on the water for a potential shark. So anyway, y'all, I guess I'll wrap up the video portion of the day since the battery's winding down. I'm gonna keep making my way down through here though and catch me some more bluegill and hopefully maybe some bass or anything else that wants to play before I head back home. But yeah, thanks for coming with me. We'll take the white bass we got in the cooler. We'll take the bluegill that's in the bucket there, plus the other shad that I have in the cooler too. And hopefully tomorrow I'm gonna get out and try to catch some catfish. So hopefully that'll be the next video. If that trip don't work out, well, I'll try the next day, I guess. We'll still try. Hopefully the next video will be catfish regardless. But I'm hoping to get back on some catfish here at home before I head over to Santee Cooper for the tournament. So anyway, y'all, I'm rambling on. The battery's gonna die. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for coming with me today.